Chapter 1040. Sheng sat on the roof until the sky turned dark before he left. When she left, the entire Qianyu pavilion already knew that she had beaten up the two leaders of the Hall of Punishment and Hall of Wind and Cloud, as well as Qian Xian, who was known as the most handsome man in Qianyu pavilion. How could this be? No matter how powerful an assassin was, he was still an assassin and a tool of Qianyu pavilion. But the leaders were different. They were recognized by the pavilion master. How dare they beat the leaders? Did they become stupid after being beaten up outside? Sheng, who was beaten silly, slowly walked back to the courtyard. Along the way, he received a lot of stares from people. Some of them looked like they had seen a ghost. Although Lu Yu was powerful before, she was very low-key. She was so low-key that no one could see her, unless she was out on a mission. What are you looking at? Sheng fiercely stared at the passerby who kept looking back. The passerby quickly lowered his head and ran away. Lu Yu became fierce. Sheng opened the courtyard door and went in. Lu Lin immediately greeted him. "Sister, are you okay? What can happen to me? Didn't you hear that I beat up those two old bastards?" Sheng sniffed. "What's that smell?" "Sister, how dare you beat them?" Lu Lin was very anxious. "Let's take advantage of the fact that they haven't come looking for trouble and leave." "Why should we leave? If you want to leave, you can leave." "I'm not leaving. Only an idiot would leave here." Sheng then remembered that this was the original owner's brother. Damn it, the original owner didn't ask her to come here to annoy her brother. She coughed and comforted him. "I have a way. Don't worry." "What's that smell?" "It smells good." Lu Lin wanted to continue, but Sheng's eyes made him a little afraid. He mumbled, "Qian Luo is here." "Qian Luo? Who?" After a while, a face popped up in Sheng's mind. Well, a bun face. Qian Luo entered Qianyu Pavilion later than them. He heard that she used to be the daughter of a rich family, but her family changed and she ended up here. Qian Luo was a sweet talker. She was adopted by the leader of Bai and Hall in less than 2 years. Her status in Qianyu Pavilion naturally took a leap. The Delicate Feather Pavilion was divided into 4 halls: the Hall of Penal Law, the Wind Cloud Hall, the 100-Piece Hall, and the Dark Hall. The Hall of Penal Law was the place where punishments were meted out. The Hall of Storm was the place where missions were issued, and the Hall of 100-Piece was in charge of the daily affairs of the pavilion, such as purchasing, cooking, and laundry. Finally, the Dark Hall was responsible for collecting information. The people from this hall basically did not appear in Liaoyu Pavilion. Very few people had seen them before. Even the hall masters had not seen them before. Of the 4 halls, the Dark Hall was the most powerful because it was directly under the pavilion master. The Disciplinary Hall and the Storm Hall were equally matched. In addition, the 2 hall masters were on good terms with each other. As long as the pavilion master did not interfere, the entire Delicate Feather Pavilion would be controlled by the 2 of them. Therefore, the hall master of the Baiyan Hall was just a butler. The butler's adopted daughter. The original owner of the body was not very familiar with Qian Luo. She had only helped her once during training, but Qian Luo liked to run to her. "Why is she here again?" Sheng lifted her foot and walked inside. Lu Lin followed behind her step by step and answered truthfully. "She heard that you're back, so she came to see you." In the room, a little girl was holding her face and staring at the steaming soup on the table. As soon as Sheng entered the room, Qian Luo stood up. She stood with her hands by her side and called out sweetly, "Lu Yu Jiejie." Sheng looked at her up and down. She looked pretty, but her eyes were especially beautiful. They were like crystal clear amber soaked in clear water. "You still dare to come? Aren't you afraid of causing trouble for your foster father?" Sheng raised her eyebrows slightly. She had offended 2 important people now. Anyone with a bit of intelligence would keep a distance from her, so as not to be used as a punching bag by the 2 important people. Qian Luo stuck out her tongue and whispered, "I snuck in." She laughed twice. "Lu Yu Jiejie, don't worry. I won't cause trouble for you. This is the soup I made. Try it." Sheng looked at her suspiciously. "And you can go back." "Huh." Qian Luo looked at the soup on the table, and was a bit confused by Sheng's reaction. Lu Yu used to be cold, but she would at least symbolically take a sip. Why did she chase her away now? Was it because Lu Jiejie was worried that she would be targeted by the leaders of the Stormy Hall and the Hall of Penal Law? She knew that Lu Jiejie was concerned about her. After Xian Luo finished her thoughts, she said happily, Lu Jiejie, remember to drink the soup. I'll go back first. Shisheng. What was she thinking? He just didn't want to drink her soup. Who knew if there were poisons in it like 7 steps intestines shattering powder, or red crown crane in it? Lu Lin walked Xian Luo out. When he came back, Shisheng had already returned to his room. He looked at the untouched food on the table and felt a bit complicated. His sister had really changed. Lu Lin went to the kitchen and made Shisheng a new bowl of noodles. This time, Shisheng ate it obediently. Lu Lin sighed in relief. Luckily, his sister still trusted him. He didn't know why he had such thoughts. Zhengrong, is the master really not here? The hall master of the Hall of Beheadings anxiously asked a young man, his face bruised and battered from the beatings. The young man nodded slightly and said calmly, the master is not here. Please come back another day. The leader of the Hall of Penal Law said angrily, but that Lu Yu is going crazy. Look at how badly she beat me up. And Hall Leader Feng, he can't even get out of bed. I'm here to ask the master for help. Lu Yu? Zhengrong paused. Is it the Lu Yu who's ranked first? That's her. In Qianyu Pavilion, her and Lu Lin's names were the most special. Zhengrong frowned. What's wrong with her? The leader of the Hall of Penal Law immediately told Zhengrong about Shisheng's evil deeds. As long as Zhengrong knew, the master would definitely know. Actually, everyone knew that as long as Zhengrong was in the pavilion, the master would be there too. But if he didn't want to see anyone, they couldn't force their way in. She beat people up even though she failed her mission? Zhengrong was probably frightened by her actions. After a while he said, I remember that Lu Yu is a very low-key person in the pavilion. The leader of the Hall of Penal Law nodded. That's right. I don't know what's wrong with her this time. It's like she's been possessed. Zhengrong nodded thoughtfully. You can go back first. If the master has any orders, I'll send someone to pass it on to you. The leader of the Hall of Penal Law was a little unwilling. Under Zhengrong's gaze, he could only bow. Then I'll have to trouble you. After the leader of the Hall of Penal Law left, Zhengrong turned around and knocked on the door. Master, how should I deal with this? There was no response for a long time. Just when Zhengrong thought that the person inside wouldn't respond, a voice sounded. Give her that mission. Zhengrong's eyes widened. Master? Asterisk tomorrow. The list of people who flooded the book reviews will be announced. Chapter 1041. When the leaders of Storm Hall and Hall of Penal Law received Zhengrong's message, they couldn't believe it. She had acted so recklessly, yet their master still allowed her to accept missions? There was no punishment at all? Zhengrong, did our master really say that? Zhengrong glanced at the leader of Hall of Penal Law. Hall leader, do you think I'm lying? That's not what I meant. The leader of Hall of Penal Law quickly denied it. Zhengrong represented their master. Everyone knew this. I just find it strange. Why would our master let Lu Yu continue to accept missions? Don't guess blindly. Zhengrong raised his eyebrows. Hall leader Feng. The two looked at Zhengrong at the same time. Zhengrong said calmly, it's best if you don't touch anyone that our master is interested in. Otherwise, you'll lose more than you gain. The two hall leaders were shocked. What did he mean? Their master had taken a liking to Lu Yu? It didn't matter if this was a compliment or a derogatory one. If they dared to have any thoughts about her, what awaited them was, right now, they could only hope that their master had taken a liking to her. Understood. The leader of Storm Hall lowered his head, hiding the hatred in his eyes. The leader of Hall of Penal Law could only express his understanding. Zhengrong nodded. Go give out missions. Yes. Shisheng was called to Storm Hall. She thought that the leader of Storm Hall wanted to cause trouble, and wanted her to beat him up again. Who knew that he was here to give out missions? The leader of Storm Hall threw a brocade pouch in front of Shisheng and said through gritted teeth, This is your mission. Shisheng glanced at the brocade pouch and blinked. Who told you I wanted to accept missions? This is our master's order. You have to accept it even if you don't want to. The leader of Storm Hall secretly cursed. If it wasn't for our master, do you think you'd still be standing here? How dare you refuse? Master? Ai's master? I won't accept Emperor Ai's mission either. She only wanted to eat and drink here and wait for the male and female leads to come online and tear apart the couple. Why would she accept a mission? She wouldn't accept. Shi Sheng, who even dared to reject the system's quest, turned and left without hesitation. The Storm Hall's hall master was so angry that he couldn't react for a while. When he finally reacted, he immediately went to complain to Zheng Rong. Zheng Rong couldn't accept the Shi Sheng's arrogance, but since the Lord didn't say anything, he could only go to the Shi Sheng personally. F***CK. Did you grow up eating tofu? Squat down, don't move, don't shake. I can't take care of you for the rest of your life. What's there to feel wronged about? Hold it in. Zheng Rong hadn't even entered the courtyard when he heard the scolding. He looked at the door. It was Lu Yu's sign. What was she shouting about? Zheng Rong knocked on the door. A crisp female voice immediately sounded. There's no one here. Stop knocking. Zheng Rong. Was that a ghost? He tried to push the door open, but it wasn't closed. With a squeak, the scene in the courtyard spread out in front of him. A frail young man was only wearing a thin piece of clothing. He was squatting in the middle of the courtyard in a horse stance. His head was covered in sweat, and his childish face was completely red. A woman was lying under the eaves beside him. She was wearing a light green dress with a bamboo leaf pattern embroidered on the hem. She was wearing a gauze robe, which made her look like a misty rain. The woman's eyebrows were exquisite, like a green lotus blooming in the drizzle. She was pure and untainted. She was just sitting there, but she gave off a noble and unapproachable aura. The courtyard door was pushed open. The woman slightly tilted her head and looked over. She frowned slightly and scolded. Who are you? The moment she opened her mouth, all the noble and unapproachable aura disappeared. Zheng Rong. Zheng Rong. Shi Sheng sat up from the chair. What are you doing? Your lord wants to kill me too? Zheng Rong's name was known by everyone in the delicate feather pavilion. Oh. You speak as if I'm not your lord. Zheng Rong endured it. I'm here to give you a mission. I said that I'm not accepting missions. Shi Sheng waved her hand. If Zheng Rong continued to annoy her, she would snatch the pavilion master's throne. Zheng Rong's expression did not change. Lu Yu, as an assassin of the delicate feather pavilion, you can't refuse. I refuse. Shi Sheng looked at Zheng Rong with a smile that was not a smile. Oh. He had never seen someone who dared to talk back to him in the delicate feather pavilion. Lu Yu, you have to think clearly. Haven't I made it clear enough? Zheng Rong's eyes darkened. You're on your own. Zheng Rong turned and left. He had to report to his lord that there was a crazy assassin here. Hidden mission. Kill him until he dies. The system's voice sounded on time when Zheng Rong left. Mission target, Qian. The mission content is literal. Host, please understand it yourself. Shi Sheng. Are you bullying I because I'm not well educated? Damn it, who is Qian? I've never heard of him before. Where did he come from? Delicate Feather Pavilion Master, Shi Sheng. Was it the idiot who ordered her to do the mission? Yes, it's that idiot. The system chimed in. Shi Sheng narrowed his eyes. Who allowed you to say that? Didn't you say it yourself? There's cat biscuits. I'm not going to serve you anymore. The system immediately went offline and shut down. The Delicate Feather Pavilion Master. This was the ultimate villain. The male lead had been looking for the Thousand Threads Ice Silkworm. The Thousand Threads Ice Silkworm was in the hands of the Delicate Feather Pavilion Master. The male lead naturally had to fight for it. The two men started a war. The Delicate Feather Pavilion Master's identity could not be exposed. The male lead cleared his identity and became a righteous person. In the end, the war spread into a war between the righteous and evil factions. In the end, the Delicate Feather Pavilion Master was forced to jump off the cliff with the Thousand Threads Ice Silkworm. The Delicate Feather Pavilion Master's role ended there. Other than Zheng Rong, no one in the Delicate Feather Pavilion, including the Hall of Penal Law and Storm Hall's Hall Master, had seen what the Delicate Feather Pavilion Master looked like. Every time they met, it was through the door. He was extremely mysterious. It was harder to see him than to reach the heavens. Harder than to reach the heavens. I've been waiting for you for a long time. I want to accept the mission. Shisheng quickly chased after him, but Zheng Rong was already far away. Shisheng chased after him for a long time before catching up with him. Zheng Rong looked at the woman who blocked his way. His expression did not change, but his eyes turned cold. Lu Yu, what do you want? Shisheng stretched out his hand. Mission. Zheng Rong was suspicious. Why did she suddenly change her mind? Shisheng repeated. Give me the mission. Zheng Rong hesitated for a while before handing over the bag. This mission cannot be failed. You must get the thing inside. Shisheng raised his eyebrows. Is it very important to him? Zheng Rong warned her. Lu Yu, you're overstepping your boundaries. There will be a time when you beg me. Shisheng muttered and put the bag back into his pocket. What did you say? Shisheng raised his head and said word by word. I said, there will be a time when you beg I. Do you hear me? Zheng Rong. If it wasn't for the fact that his lord forced you to go, he would definitely beat you up until your parents couldn't recognize you. Mini Science Theater. Love it till death. Even in death, one's heart will not change. It describes how one's love will not change until death. Source: The Book of Songs, Black Wind by Zhou. Chapter 1042. Jianzhou City. Recently, Jianzhou City was very lively. People from all over the country gathered here. There was no other reason. The daughter of the Snowy Mountain Villa was going to have a martial arts competition to find a husband. The owner of the Snowy Mountain Villa only had one daughter. Whoever married her would be the son-in-law of the Snowy Mountain Villa. In the end, the entire Snowy Mountain Villa would be his. Therefore, there were countless talents who wanted to marry this daughter. Even the imperial court came to join in the fun. What if he was lucky enough to win? Unfortunately, the destination of Shisheng's mission was the Snowy Mountain Villa. Shisheng looked at the people coming and going in the villa. He poked the ground with his iron sword. Should she just rush in? Or should she just rush in? There were so many people. It was tiring to fight. Shisheng decided to use the old method, climbing over the wall. This time there were no accidents. She got in easily. There was a map of the Snowy Mountain Villa in the silk bag, but she didn't know where it was. Yes, she was looking for a sword. It was rumored to be the sword of the Snowy Mountain Villa, Qi Tong. The divine sword Qi Tong was the trademark of the Snowy Mountain Villa. This name was also perfect. It was such a big villa. How long would it take for her to find it alone? Therefore, Shisheng went to ask the owner of the villa for directions. However, the villa lord of the Snowy Mountain Villa told her that Qi Tong had been taken away a few days ago. Who took it away? The owner swallowed hard. The sharp sword on his neck was about to cut his throat. The young master of the Sikong family, Sikong Feng. The male lead. Damn. How dare he steal I's business? Sikong Feng acted like a weak and sickly person in front of others. How did Sikong Feng take the sword away? The owner thought of something and his expression turned ugly. Shisheng tightened his grip. Speak. The Qi Tong originally belonged to the Sikong family. The Snowy Mountain Villa was just keeping it. The manor lord said that the Sikong family had obtained the Qi Ming sword back then, but no one could control it, which made the family restless. At that time, the head of the Sikong family had placed the Qi Ming sword in the Snowy Manor. His descendants would come every 10 years to try and see if the Qi Ming sword could recognize them as its master. This year happened to be the 10th year. Sikong Feng came alone, but he was recognized by Qi Mingjian. According to the agreement of the ancestors, he had to give the sword to Sikong Feng. Shisheng took back the iron sword and squatted in front of Zhuangzhu. Don't you want such a powerful sword? You have to be alive first. The manor lord's face was ashen. That sword is very evil. The Qi Ming sword had been in the Snowy Mountain Manor for many years. How could the people of the Snowy Mountain Manor not want it? Of course he wanted to. He had been trying to think of a way for so many years, but it was to no avail. Qi Mingjian didn't recognize him, so he couldn't even take him. Very good. Looks like this sword was prepared for the male lead. So now she was going to have a catfight with the male lead? Shisheng had beaten up the owner of the snowy mountain villa. How could the owner bear it? As soon as he walked out of the villa, a group of people chased after him. Catch her! Shisheng looked back and ran. She had to save her strength for a catfight with the male lead. She didn't want to fight with these idiots. They couldn't catch up with Shisheng's speed. He disappeared in a few blinks. Shisheng ran for a while in a few alleys and slowed down. She had to find the male lead now. But where the hell was she going to find him? The system wasn't online. Have you heard? The Qi Mingjian has been born. It's in Si Kongfeng's hands. How can it not be? Si Kongfeng is a sickly person, but he was recognized by Qi Mingjian. You can't judge a book by its cover. But I'm afraid Si Kongfeng's coming days won't be easy. He can only have the Qi Mingjian stolen. That's true. Recently, the news about Si Kongfeng getting the Qi Mingjian had spread throughout the martial arts world. As the sword of the snowy mountain villa, the Qi Mingjian definitely wouldn't be unknown. Countless people in the martial arts world wanted to get this sword. Si Kongfeng was famous for being sickly. Who else could they steal it from but him? Master, everyone in the martial arts world knows that she made things like this. It's even harder to get the Qi Tong now. Zheng Rong stood behind a man. There was a hint of dissatisfaction with Shisheng in his voice. She's very lively. The man's voice was clear like pearls falling on a plate. Zheng Rong's mouth twitched. How was that lively? She was too lively. She offended everyone in the snowy mountain villa the moment she went up. She got the news that you guys haven't gotten. The man's voice contained a hint of a smile. Zheng Rong lowered his head. I tried my best. They only knew that Qi Mingjian was in the snowy mountain villa, but they didn't find the exact location. They also didn't know that Qi Mingjian was no longer there. Shisheng found Si Kongfeng with everyone's help. Si Kongfeng was fighting with someone. Shisheng found a good place to watch the show. When the battle ended, she slowly went over. He had just gone through a battle and killed all the people who came to kill him. Hence, Shisheng appeared to take advantage of the situation. Si Kongfeng's body immediately tensed up. Lu Yu. Si Kongfeng was even more surprised when he saw her clearly. You're not dead. Shisheng spread his hands. Sorry to disappoint you. I'm still alive and well. Si Kongfeng looked like a pretty boy. Because he pretended to be sick all year round, his face was pale. Now that he was covered in blood, it was a strange contrast. He wiped the blood off his face and dyed his lips red. You want to steal the Qi Mingjian too? Shisheng pursed his lips. Do you want me to come and see an idiot like you? The idiot Si Kongfeng was speechless. Why did this Lu Yu seem like a different person? Whether it was the way she spoke or her expression, she was completely different from the person he had met before. Even her aura was different. Lu Yu was an assassin. She learned how to restrain her aura and not reveal a single bit. But this person, she was arrogant and confident. She didn't hide her evil aura at all. She stood there like a shining object, attracting attention. Who are you? She wasn't Lu Yu. Chenibyu Shisheng immediately came online. Me? You want to know I's name? You're not qualified. Is my noble name something an idiot can casually know? You'll be scared to death if I say it out loud. How is your name noble? I've never heard of it before. Don't randomly add settings for yourself. Chenibyu is an illness that needs to be treated. Si Kongfeng didn't expect Shisheng to admit it so easily. He was stunned and stared at her warily. Since you're not Lu Yu, why did you use her appearance? What's your motive? This is Lu Yu's body. Shisheng smiled maliciously. Have you heard of reincarnating in someone else's body? Asterisk, this is a fake group. Si Kongfeng. I want to complain. What does she mean by admitting it so easily? Little fairy. Let me tell you, she's not Lu Yu. Si Kongfeng. This isn't how the normal plot works. Little fairy. She doesn't feel normal. Si Kongfeng. Chapter 1043. Of course, Si Kongfeng had heard of this before. But it was just a legend. How could he take it seriously? Shisheng continued to explain to the male lead. To put it simply, I'm using Lu Yu's body but my soul isn't Lu Yu's. Oh. Si Kongfeng didn't know how to calm down. How can you prove it? This woman was definitely scaring him. How could there be such a thing as a reincarnation technique in this world? Prove. Shisheng hummed before scoffing coldly. Believe it or not, why should I, LZ, prove it to you? F** King retard. Sikong Fong. That's enough nonsense. Come on. Shisheng rolled up his sleeves. Something was going to happen if they continued chatting. Let's kill him first. Sikong Fong wanted to say something, but Shisheng was already attacking him. He could only hold the sword in his hand and fight against Shisheng. Qi Ming's sword looked very heavy. It was wide and had complicated patterns carved on it. It looked like a piece of art placed in a glass display. Shisheng wanted to break Qi Ming's sword at first, but he remembered that his wife wanted it. If he broke it, his wife would get angry with him. He could only aim at Sikong Fong. Sikong Fong still had a lot of luck on him. If Shisheng wanted to cut him, there would be a lot of resistance. Clang. The iron sword in Sikong Feng's hand was knocked away by Shisheng and stabbed into the trunk of a nearby tree. Sikong Feng's stomach was filled with the smell of blood. He forcefully suppressed it. She wasn't trying to steal the sword. She was trying to kill him. Sikong Feng steadied his breath. Since you're not Lu Yu, why do you want to kill me? Shisheng's eyes curved. Lu Yu's last wish is to kill you. I have to help her fulfill it. Lu Yu's mission was like that. She definitely didn't have a stepmother. Yes. Definitely not. She's already dead. What can she give you? Sikong Feng continued to stall for time. Whether he believed it or not, he had to say it now. As long as you stop, I can give you what you want. You can't afford it. Shisheng snorted. What do you want? Pavilion Master of Lianyu Pavilion. Sikong Feng. He really couldn't afford it. If he could defeat the Pavilion Lord of Delicate Feather Pavilion, then he would directly bring people to attack Delicate Feather Pavilion. Shisheng calculated the time, and felt that if they continued to waste time, something big would definitely happen. Therefore, she was no longer slow. Instead, she quickly took down the male lead and tied him to a tree. She also stuffed his mouth while she was at it. Shisheng stood in front of him with a faint smile on his face. It's okay. If you hate me, just show it. The more you hate me, the better. That way you'll collapse faster. The day I kill you is just around the corner. It seemed that the male and female protagonists both broke down relatively quickly. As expected, hatred was the key to destroying a person. It seemed that he would have to do more evil in the future. The host seemed to have automatically comprehended some strange skill. Scary. Shisheng pulled Qi Mingjian down from the tree and tried swinging it. It was a little heavy and didn't feel comfortable. Sikong Feng's pupils contracted. She was actually able to pick up the Qi Ming sword without any hindrance. With the iron sword around, Qi Mingjian didn't dare to act rashly. Before Shisheng left, he fiddled around the tree that Sikong Feng was tied to. Sikong Feng didn't know what he was doing, but when someone found him and wanted to put him down, he knew what he was doing. Sikong Feng was tied to the tree for 3 days and 3 nights. No one could get close to him. Therefore, he starved for 3 days and 3 nights. He didn't even have any saliva. When he was rescued, he was already on the verge of death. Shisheng took the Qi Ming sword back to Delicate Feather Pavilion. There was red silk everywhere at the entrance. Big red lanterns were hung one after another. Calculating the time, Xianman and Xianxuan's wedding should be starting soon. It wasn't easy to have a wedding in Delicate Feather Pavilion. With the status of the Hall Master of Storm Hall, it wasn't impossible to hold a grand wedding. Miss Lu Yu is back. The servant at the entrance greeted him respectfully. Shisheng stepped on the steps and entered the door. The servant wanted to say something but stopped. Shisheng stopped and looked at him. What's wrong? The servant suddenly trembled, as if he was frightened. The others beside him all bowed their heads and remained silent. Shisheng. What? She didn't do anything. The servant stammered. Young Master Lu Lin has gone missing. Shisheng frowned. When? 3 days ago. The servant didn't dare to look at Shisheng. Oh. Shisheng replied and continued to walk inside. The servant was a little confused. This reaction. Why was it so calm? Who in Delicate Feather Pavilion didn't know that the person she cared about the most was Lu Lin? Sheng returned to the courtyard unhurriedly. The courtyard was very quiet. There was no one there. Before she left, she dared to leave Lu Lin here because she was prepared. Lu Lin couldn't have been caught. Anyone who dared to touch him wouldn't have a good ending. That could only mean that Lu Lin left by himself. Sister Lu Yu. A soft voice came from the top of the wall. Sheng looked up slightly and met a pair of watery eyes. Xian Lua was lying on top of the wall. She looked around and after making sure that there was no one around, she flipped over the wall and said anxiously, Sister Lu Yu, Brother Lin was taken away by Master Zhengrong. Quickly go and save him. Zhengrong? I saw it with my own eyes. Xian Luo nodded vigorously. That day, she wanted to come in to look for Lu Lin, who knew that she would see Zhengrong and Lu Lin talking at the door. After that, Lu Lin left with Zhengrong. After that, news of Lu Lin's disappearance spread. Treacherous. This time, Feng Ci would definitely be difficult to deal with. Sheng scratched his head. F***ck. If he was difficult to deal with, he would sleep with him first. He didn't believe that he wouldn't succumb to I. Sheng sent Xian Luo away. In the center of Delicate Feather Pavilion, there was a pavilion that no one was allowed to enter. That was the pavilion master's territory. Sheng flipped in from the side window. It was a very large room. There were some boxes inside. He didn't know what was inside, but they were all covered in a thick layer of dust. Sheng glanced around and opened the door. There was a corridor outside. There was no one and it was silent. Sheng searched the second floor, but couldn't find anyone. She went to the third floor. The third floor should be Qian's room and study. It was relatively spacious and clean, but Sheng didn't see anyone. That idiot wasn't in the pavilion? Gotcha. The bookshelf in the room suddenly moved. The figure inside gradually revealed itself. The man saw that there was someone in the room. He was slightly stunned. Then, he naturally came out and closed the door of the secret room. There was no breath on him. He was as quiet as air. His position couldn't be determined even if one closed their eyes. Qian walked a few steps in the direction of Sheng. His ink-like eyes seemed to be tinged with a smile. Lu Yu? His voice was clear like flowing water. Every syllable was just right. His face was expressionless, but one could feel that he was smiling. Not soft and cute at all. Return. And a scheming bitch. Return. What to do if you want to kill her? Return. Hold it in. Maybe after some training, he would become soft and cute? Calm down. Calm down. Sheng sized him up. What's up? He asked. Did you get the thing back? Sheng smiled and replied. Do you want it? Chapter 1044. Qian spat out 2 words. Lu Lin. You want to use him to threaten me? Sheng raised an eyebrow. You care about him a lot. Qian stated the truth. Do you know what happens to those who threaten me? I don't know. Do you want to try? One of them laughed silently, while the other laughed proudly. The air seemed to be filled with invisible sparks. Qi Ming's sword is useless to you. A clear voice shattered the stillness in the room. There's only one Lu Lin. Your choice is related to his life. Sheng crossed his arms and laughed sarcastically. If you have the ability, then kill him for me to see. Fuck if you can kill Lu Lin, even if you're a freak, I won't kill you. You really won't consider it. Qian suddenly felt a bit unfathomable. A wisp of doubt floated in his ink-black pupils, but it disappeared in a flash. If you have the ability, then kill him for me to see. Sheng repeated word by word. He didn't hide the evil aura on his body. That kind of malicious aura instantly drowned Qian. Qian's eyes flashed, and he raised his hand and waved it in the air. Sheng's eyebrows bent, as if he was gloating. I forgot to tell you, when I came in, I cleaned up your people. Qian didn't think Sheng was lying. The fact that he could appear here without a sound proved that he was more powerful than he understood. Qi Ming's sword for your brother, and I'll set you free. Qian increased the bargaining chip. You want this sword that much? Sheng took out Qi Ming's sword and looked left and right. He raised his eyebrows and asked, Can you control it? This sword was full of hostility. It wouldn't take long for an ordinary person to be eroded by the hostility, and become a slave to the sword? That's my business. You only need to make a choice. Qian's gaze swept over Qi Ming's sword. It was calm and condensed, without any fluctuations. Shisheng snorted. I'll also give the pavilion master 2 choices. Let me sleep for a night, or let me sleep for a night. Qian. What was the difference between those 2 choices? And this sleep, was it the sleep he understood? This woman was really bold. On second thought, she dared to hit his hallmaster, so it seemed that she had the guts to do so. Do you know what happened to the people who wanted to sleep with this pavilion master? The corner of Qian's mouth pulled into an arc, and his face was also dyed with a smile. I'm willing to die if I can sleep with the pavilion master just once. Shisheng spouted nonsense with a straight face. Qian calmly looked at Shisheng, trying to distinguish some hidden information from her face. Unfortunately, there was nothing. There was a faint smile on her face. It was flawless and perfect. That pair of eyes were as calm as water, without a single ripple. It blocked his line of sight, preventing him from peeking into the depths. Arrogant and conceited. It was dangerous and dark. Are you really not worried about your brother? Even if she had gotten rid of the people outside, he still had many people. Lulin's life was still in his hands. Pavilion master, you can try. If you die, it's my loss. Shisheng spread out his hands. Qian really wanted to try, but he didn't know why, but he had an intuition that once he gave this order, something unexpected would happen. Shisheng approached Qian. Pavilion master, why don't we do something happy? Qian stood still, watching the woman approach him. Her fingers climbed onto his waist. The moment she gently tugged, Qian grabbed her hand, turned around, and pressed her onto the table next to him. The teacup on the table was swept to the ground, making a crackling sound as it shattered. Qian supported the table with one hand. His eyes were dangerous and bloodthirsty, but he was smiling. His voice was even softer, as if he was coaxing a disobedient child. Luyu, don't challenge the bottom line. Shisheng still had one hand that could move. She fiercely grabbed Qian's collar and pulled him closer. Her voice was fierce. I want to see what your bottom line is. If I'm not even your bottom line, then there's no need to continue. Even if you don't have any memories, there's no need. The next moment, the 2 people's positions were reversed. Qian was below, Shisheng was above. The air seemed to stagnate. The danger in Qian's eyes had reached its peak. Luyu. Qian's voice was hoarse. You dare. Shisheng reached out and pulled his belt. Then let's see if I dare. Qian was probably angry. His cheeks were a little red. He suddenly exerted force and the 2 people's positions were reversed again. I really don't think I dare to kill you. Come, I'll let you kill me. Shisheng stretched his neck under Qian's hand. You just need to pinch me gently. Qian's hand didn't fall for a long time. He stared at Shisheng as if Shisheng was some kind of monster. He suddenly retreated, but the next moment, Shisheng pressed him down again. This time, it wasn't on the table but on the ground. I'll give you a chance. Shisheng leaned over and whispered in his ear. The ancient clothes were complicated. Shisheng was a little annoyed. When he finally tore them apart, there was a sudden knock on the door. Lord, are you inside? Shisheng's face instantly turned ugly. Fuck your uncle, you didn't come earlier or later. You came at this time. Greetings to the plot lord and his family. This plot was really rotten. Qian suddenly smiled. His white and strong chest was faintly discernible under his clothes. Shisheng pressed him down and didn't move. He lowered his head and stared at him. Wait until the people outside leave. Don't think I will let you go. Her black hair fell on his chest. The tip of her hair swept across his chest, causing him to tremble. Qian probably guessed Shisheng's idea. He suddenly lifted his foot and kicked the broken porcelain next to him. Lord! Zheng Rong, who was about to leave, heard the movement and knocked on the door again. He didn't hear a sound for a long time. He slightly frowned and directly pushed the door open. His line of sight just happened to see the corner of the cloak drawing a beautiful arc in the air. After a slight sound, calmness was restored. Qian stood with his back to Zheng Rong. Zheng Rong was startled and quickly lowered his head. Lord! Why didn't the Lord make a sound in the room? Zheng Rong's line of sight just happened to sweep the broken porcelain on the ground. The light in his eyes changed, but he didn't dare to ask more. Clean it up. Qian covered his cloak and walked to the bookshelf. He opened the door and went in, blocking Zheng Rong outside. The door of the secret room closed. He pulled the cloak and looked down. The dangerous luster in his eyes was particularly terrifying in the dark environment. Qian changed into a clean set of clothes and came out. Zheng Rong just finished packing. Lord Luyu is back. Qian clenched his teeth. Of course he knew Luyu was back. He was almost thinking of this. Qian's heart burned. Where's Lu Lin? Zheng Rong said. The people of the Dark Hall are watching. There won't be a problem. Lord, don't worry. Don't worry? That woman wasn't worried at all. It would be strange if he didn't worry. Qian touched his chest. There seemed to be a slight itch from when the hair swept past. Lord? Why was the Lord in a daze? This was rarer than the red rain in the sky. Chapter 1045. When Shisheng came out of the attic, he met Qian Man. Qian Man was explaining things to the servants. Her face full of the shyness of a girl who was about to get married. Killers were not allowed to fall in love. This was the rule of Qianyu Pavilion. Shisheng secretly tried to figure out the brain circuit of the scheming pavilion master. In recent years, Fengyan Hall and Penal Law Hall had been a bit unruly, and they had done a lot of things to deceive their superiors. This was absolutely not allowed to happen as a superior. So this wedding, he was afraid it wouldn't go so smoothly. Shisheng decided to give Qian some trouble. Let's see how scheming you are. I don't like scheming boys. As soon as Shisheng made the decision, trouble came from the other side. Qian Man probably saw her and came over with people. Qian Man still had a lingering fear from being beaten up before, but when she thought about how many people she had around her, she didn't believe she would dare to do anything. Lu Yu. Qian Man stood in front of Shisheng, a gloomy light flashing in her eyes. I'm getting married in a few days. You must come. Shisheng raised his eyebrows. What are you going to do? Steal the bride? Lu Yu, do you have any shame? Qian Man was so angry that she stomped her feet. Is brother Qian Xian someone you can covet? Who covets that idiot? How did this girl become an assassin? What happened to the calm and collected assassins? You've lost all the assassin's face. Can the plot use some brains when choosing people? You dare to scold brother Qian Xian. Qian Man pointed at Shisheng. I did. What's wrong? Scolding her wouldn't hurt her. The people who scolded her could circle the universe hand in hand. What did she say? You have to be calm. Scolding people is useless. If you have the ability, just kill them. What kind of calmness is this? Host, you need to be calm. You. Why was this woman so arrogant? She didn't punish her at all for what happened last time. There was no punishment for failing the mission, not even for violating the rules. Xian Man wanted to teach Shisheng a lesson, but her IQ had not completely gone offline. She knew that she was no match for Shisheng. Her face flushed red, and she angrily said, Lu Yu, don't be so arrogant. Just you wait. Shisheng said from behind. Who wants to wait for you? I don't like you. Xian Man stumbled forward and almost fell to the ground. She resisted the impulse and clenched her fists. After a while, she continued to walk forward. On the second day, something big happened in the delicate feather pavilion. Xian Man was dead. He died in the pond of the delicate feather pavilion. Early in the morning, it was seen by the assassins who came back from a mission. The originally quiet Qianyu pavilion immediately became lively because of this matter. This was awkward. Yesterday, many people saw Shisheng and Xian Man quarreling, and it wasn't just a day or two ago that they didn't see eye to eye. Therefore, the culprit, unfortunately, Shisheng fell into her trap again. Shisheng was very innocent. She did plan to kill Xian Man and make trouble for Qian, that idiot, but she didn't do it last night. The leader of the Fengyan Hall brought people to block Shisheng in the courtyard. Lu Yu, get the hell out here. Don't think you'll be fine if you hide inside. Come out, Lu Yu, get the hell out here. Don't be a coward, Lu Yu. Lu Yu, you bitch. You dare to do it, but you don't dare to admit it. Get the hell out here. I want you to pay for Xianman's life. Xian Xian's voice was hoarse from shouting, but she still couldn't get Shisheng to come out. Knock, knock the door open for me. Xian Xian pulled the person next to her and pushed him towards the courtyard door. Several people looked at each other and walked towards the courtyard door. Shisheng sat in the courtyard, rocking his chair. Listening to the shouting outside, it was like playing a lullaby. He didn't react at all. There was a wailing sound outside the door. Shisheng lifted his eyes and saw a white cloak with ink patterns. Shisheng looked up and wasn't surprised to see Qian's flawlessly handsome face. Pavilion Master. Shisheng pulled the corner of his mouth and smiled. What are you doing here? At this time he couldn't be here to denounce him, right? If he dared, she would kill him immediately. Give me the Qi Mingjian. Qian didn't give Shisheng a chance to kill him. He came for the Qi Mingjian. As the pavilion master of Qianyu Pavilion, he actually had to come personally to ask an assassin for something. The most infuriating thing was that he clearly had something in his hands. Shisheng blinked. No, not unless you sleep with me. And this baby is a person with principles. Aren't you afraid that I'll push you out as a scapegoat? Qian narrowed his eyes. Shisheng arrogantly raised his chin. No, you don't dare. Qian. What did he not dare to do? Qian's heart flashed with a trace of strangeness. He didn't seem to have thought of making her a scapegoat. He had considered several people, but only she. Never flashed through his mind. Qian withdrew his thoughts. I have use for the Qi Mingjian. Give it to me. I can exchange it with what you want. I want you. Shisheng tugged at Qian's cloak and looked up at him. I only want you, nothing else. His face was reflected in her eyes. It was so clear and so serious. Qian panicked in his heart and immediately looked away. Did this woman have any sense of shame? How could he say something like that in public? Even if there were only 2 words at this time, it was still shameless. Shisheng slowly continued. In any case, if you sleep with it, the Qi Mingjian is yours. If you don't sleep with it, you can forget about it for the rest of your life. Qian. What if he wanted to press her into a crack? Was she thinking about these things all day long? Qian took a step back and pulled his cloak back. His eyes turned and landed on the courtyard door. Before the thoughts in his mind could rise, her voice sounded again. Pavilion Master, you better not play tricks in front of me. I can forgive you the first time, but the second time, I promise you it will be unforgettable. The first time, he could reluctantly forgive him because he didn't directly confront him. But if there was a second time, then there was nothing to say. Die first. Qian suppressed those strange thoughts. Except that. I can promise you anything I can do. If he snatched it, his chances of winning weren't high. This woman's strength was a bit unfathomable. Don't ask him why he knew. He knew it from the last time he was pressed down. Hey. He wasn't pressed down. Sleep with me. Shisheng said without hesitation. Qian. What was the difference between this and that condition? Someone come. Throw her into a crack in the ground for this seat. Qian's figure flashed and disappeared in front of Shisheng. Shisheng rubbed his chin. He didn't mention a word about Xian Man just now. It seemed like he knew who the murderer was. Maybe he was the one who found the murderer. Is it really good for you to think of your feng shui like that? This system doesn't really understand young people these days. Shisheng lay back down and said matter-of-factly. What's wrong with me? He's not a good person. Speechless. Chapter 1046. The hallmaster of Storm Hall insisted that it was Shisheng who did it, and wanted to take her life to pay for Xian Man's death. Zheng Rong came out and told everyone to calm down. The specific situation had to be investigated before dealing with it. However, the hallmaster of Storm Hall waited for several days, and Zheng Rong didn't come out. It was as if he had forgotten about this matter. The hallmaster couldn't help but look for Zheng Rong. Zheng Rong gave him a random person and said that it was the real culprit. When the hallmaster saw that person, his face turned pale. Hallmaster Feng, don't think about it. This is a warning. Zheng Rong stood on the steps and said calmly. This is the master's Qianyu Pavilion. The hallmaster of Storm Hall knelt below with cold sweat on his forehead. He couldn't tell if he was afraid or angry. After Zheng Rong left and the surroundings returned to silence, The hall master of Storm Hall stood up. He glanced at the pavilion in front of him and turned to leave. Outside, Xian Xian was waiting anxiously. When the hall master of Storm Hall came out, she went up to him. "Father, what did the master say?" "This matter ends here," the hall master of Storm Hall said with a calm face. "What? Father, what are you talking about? Did Man die in such a dubious way?" The hall master of Storm Hall glared at Xian Xian. "What do you know? Enough, let's go back and talk." "Father." Xian Xian was shocked by the hall master's expression and didn't dare to speak again. However, he was unwilling to accept it. Why didn't the master punish that bitch Lu Yu? It was clearly that bitch who did it. Why did the master let her go? He must avenge Man. The bride was dead, so the wedding couldn't go on. However, the atmosphere in Qianyu Pavilion was indescribably stifling. There was a sense of tension, as if a storm was coming. Shisheng wasn't worried about Lu Lin either. He was fiddling with Qi Mingjian in her courtyard all day. "Sister Lu Yu." Xian Luo flipped over the wall and ran to Shisheng. "Is Brother Lin okay?" Shisheng didn't raise his head and replied, "He won't die." Qian wouldn't do anything to Lu Lin. Even if he wanted to, he couldn't. But Xian Luo blinked her big watery eyes. The worry in her eyes could be seen clearly. She felt a little uncomfortable in her heart. In the past, Big Sister Lu Yu cared so much about Big Brother Lin. But now Big Sister Lu Yu didn't look worried at all. Shisheng stabbed Qi Ming's sword to the side and glanced sideways. "Don't come to me if there's nothing important." Xian Luo twirled her fingers and said softly, "I'm worried about Brother Lin." "Worrying won't feed you, Sister Lu Yu." Xian Luo looked at Shisheng carefully. "You seem to have changed." "Yes," Shisheng replied. "I've changed. Can you leave now?" Xian Luo was probably frightened by Shisheng's sudden coldness. She looked a little wronged. She bit her lips, looked at Shisheng deeply, and jumped over the wall to leave. Shisheng was waiting for Qian to come. If he wanted Qi Mingjian, he would definitely come. She didn't wait for Qian, but Xian Xian came first. Because she was waiting for Qian, she didn't put up defensive talismans around the courtyard. That was why Xian Xian could sneak in. Xian Xian wanted to avenge Xianman, but he didn't even see the person before he was put down by Shisheng. Shisheng was about to kill him when Qian mysteriously appeared beside her. He raised his hand and pressed down on her hand. "Lu Yu, have you asked for my opinion before killing my people?" Shisheng shook him off. "What's your opinion?" Qian stood against the light, so Shisheng couldn't see the expression on his face. His head moved, and his eyes fell on the figure on the ground. "This is my Qianyu Pavilion's people. I have the final say in their life and death. Including you." Shisheng grinned. The moonlight shone into her eyes, making her look even colder and colder. "Poochie." The courtyard suddenly fell into a dead silence. After a long time, Shisheng pulled out the iron sword. His voice was faint. "He wants to kill me." Qian's voice was emotionless. "Do you know you'll ruin my plan?" "And what do you want?" Shisheng tilted his head. "Get rid of those two old farts? I can help you. I don't need any reward. Just giving me my body is enough." Qian. "I've never seen such a shameless woman. But she's so damn attractive." Qian pinched himself and bent down to pick up the unconscious Xian Xian from the ground. With a leap, he jumped to the top of the wall and disappeared into the night with a few flashes. Shisheng sighed. "So difficult. Not cute at all." Xian Xian disappeared. The leader of Fengyan Hall couldn't sit still. His first suspicion was still Shisheng. After all, his son had been clamoring to avenge Xianman. The leader of Fengyan Hall looked for Shisheng again. "Lu Yu, what did you do to my son? Hand him over." The leader of Fengyan Hall looked tired. He hadn't slept well recently. "Your son is missing. What does it have to do with me?" Shisheng stood at the door with an arrogant expression. "It's obviously, Lu Yu, the Lord is calling for you." Zheng Rong appeared in time and warned her. He turned to look at the leader of Fengyan Hall. "Leader Feng, do you still have the self-awareness of a leader?" Leader Feng. The leader of Fengyan Hall glared at Shisheng. "Lu Yu, don't let me find out. Otherwise, even the pavilion master can't protect you. I'm scared of you." Shisheng curled his lips. The leader of Fengyan Hall left unwillingly. Zheng Rong retracted his gaze. The Lord has a task for you. Let him come to me himself. Shi Sheng retreated into the courtyard. Right, quickly return Lu Lin to me. Otherwise, I'm not sure if Qi Mingjian will be fine. Bang. Zheng Rong. Why did they become the ones being threatened? That afternoon, Lu Lin was sent back. His hands and feet were intact, but he was a little dispirited. Sister. Lu Lin pounced on Shi Sheng out of habit. Shi Sheng wouldn't let him pounce on him this time. He dodged and Lu Lin pounced on empty air. He steadied himself and turned his head to look at Shi Sheng in confusion. Sister. Shi Sheng's expression didn't change as he said, men and women shouldn't touch each other. Lu Lin lowered his head in disappointment. Oh, sister didn't care about these things in the past either. Did they do anything to you? Lu Lin shook his head. Young Master Zheng Rong said it was to protect me. Sister, are you on some dangerous mission again? Which of my missions isn't dangerous? Lu Lin thought about it, and felt that what she said made sense. He lowered his head and asked dejectedly, Sister, have I caused you a lot of trouble? Yes. Wasn't it just trouble? He was a burden. When he heard Shi Sheng's answer, Lu Lin's face turned green. He gritted his teeth. Sister, don't worry. I will practice well, and won't be a burden to you. Lu Yu had protected Lu Lin too well in the past. She couldn't bear to see him suffer. However, she forgot that she couldn't protect Lu Lin forever. Lu Lin's strength was the best protection for him. Hashtag today's Plum Blossom ticket hashtag monthly ticket hashtag vote ticket hashtag reward hashtag. Chapter 1047. When Qian came, Shi Sheng was boiling medicine for Lu Lin. His body was too weak, so he had to improve his physique first. The power of the pill was too strong, and Lu Lin would explode in a minute. So he could only use herbs, which were not so strong. Smelling the bitter smell of the courtyard, Qian didn't want to come in at all. He stood on the wall and stared at Shi Sheng. What are you doing up there? Shi Sheng looked up at him. Does this make you look taller? King retard. You come up. Up your uncle. You come down. You come up. Do you want to come down? Shi Sheng looked away and continued to boil the medicine. So not cute, this baby won't serve. Qian. You want to sleep with me with this attitude? Dream on. Qian stood on top for a long time, and finally moved his noble feet and landed in the courtyard. He really wanted to strangle her. He thought so in his heart, but in his actions he didn't want to at all. Are you injured? Do I look injured to you? Her face was ruddy, and her breathing was normal. There was no sign of injury. Qian's eyes fell on the medicine pot. Why are you boiling medicine? Why are you looking for me? Shi Sheng didn't answer and changed the topic. Have you thought it through? Are you going to exchange your body for the Qi Ming sword? Qian's hand came out from under the cloak, and he threw a brocade bag at Shi Sheng. Complete this task, and I can agree to your conditions. He paused, and a smile suddenly appeared in his eyes. Anyway, I won't lose out, right? He was a man. Even if he slept with her, she would be the one to lose out. Shi Sheng looked at him suspiciously and opened the brocade bag. There was a note inside with a task written on it. Bring back the Swallow Valley Master? Why did he offend you? What the hell was Swallow Valley? Sort of. Qian's eyes flashed with danger. Since he offended you, just kill him. Why bring him back? Bring him back for the new year? Lu Yu. Qian called softly. If you want me to agree to your conditions, do as I say. CK. You are the daughter-in-law, so you have the final say. Who else has offended you? Tell me all of them. I will tie them up and bring them back. Shi Sheng waved his hand domineeringly. Buy one get one free. Don't miss this opportunity. You only have one chance. Qian. He took a deep look at Shi Sheng and jumped onto the wall. I'll be waiting for your good news. Wash yourself clean and wait. Qian almost fell off the wall. He steadied his breath and quickly disappeared from Shi Sheng's sight. Shi Sheng clutched the brocade pouch and headed back to Swallow Valley. Lu Lin. Shi Sheng shouted into the room. Sister. Lu Lin jogged out from inside. His hands and face were stained with flour, which made him look very funny. I'm going out for a while. Remember to boil and drink the medicine. Your body might have a reaction, but no matter how painful it is, you have to endure it, okay? Where is big sister going? Children shouldn't ask about adult matters. Lu Lin. He wasn't young anymore. Shisheng left the iron sword to Lu Lin and told him not to go out and wander around. He also told him not to eat anything of unknown origin. He wasn't even allowed to eat the things that Qian Luo brought. After ensuring that nothing went wrong, Shisheng left Qianyu Pavilion. As soon as she left Qianyu Pavilion, some people started to have ideas. However, almost everyone returned empty-handed. They couldn't even enter the courtyard. Even if someone coaxed Lu Lin out, a sword would come out of nowhere and beat them up. If they ran too slowly, they would probably lose their lives there. Now their attention was no longer on Lu Lin, but on the sword. Zheng Rong reported to Qi and Qi Mingjian was taken away by her. Master, this subordinate thinks that the sword is not worse than Qi Mingjian and it could attack autonomously. Qian laughed silently. She dares to stay, so she's sure that no one can get it. Shisheng didn't bring the iron sword, so she could only walk. Last time, she beat up Si Kong Feng, and even told him that she was reincarnated in someone else's body. Si Kong Feng let the news out, so the rumor in the martial arts world was that Lu Yu was bewitched and a witch. The name Lu Yu was the benchmark of the assassin world. Suddenly she was called a witch, so the assassin world was boiling. Witch Sheng. There were always idiots spreading rumors about this baby behind her back. What was more frightening was that Si Kong Feng dared to put up a bounty for her. Assassins used to be nocturnal. Other than members of an organization, very few people had seen her real face. But now her portrait was everywhere. She could be recognized wherever she went. The scene was comparable to a celebrity meeting. Shisheng, who had been hunted down several times, was furious. He also put up a bounty with his real name. The bounty was much higher than Si Kong Feng's. Was it easier to kill a powerful assassin or a sick person? There was almost no choice between the two. Shisheng even spread the news that the real Si Kong Feng had died a long time ago. The current Si Kong Feng was actually a big devil who had been coveting the Central Plains for a long time. What did the people of the Central Plains hate the most? The devil sect that was a staple in martial arts novels. Shisheng, who had once been the leader of the devil sect, felt so good that he wanted to go to heaven. According to the plot, the male protagonist would give up attacking the martial arts world under the influence of the female protagonist and live in seclusion with the female protagonist. The more tragic ending would be that the female protagonist died. The male protagonist would suddenly wake up and take the female protagonist's ashes with him, never to step into the Central Plains again. But now, Shisheng revealed the male protagonist's identity before the plot was fully developed. The plot skipped the process and went to the end. The martial arts world was really lively now. Shisheng was in a good mood when he saw Si Kong Feng being hunted down. It seemed that I didn't know how to fan the flames. I started to fan the flames. Even I was afraid of myself. Shisheng made the martial arts world a mess. When these people didn't have time to find trouble with her, she went to Yanhui Valley alone to collect people's heads, no kidnap people. But when she arrived at Yanhui Valley, the whole valley was shrouded in the smell of blood. Everyone in Yanhui Valley was dead. It seemed that they had died not long ago. Some of the bodies were still warm. Shisheng looked for the valley master, who fit the description in the valley. Finally, he found the valley master in a square of Yanhui Valley. The valley master was hung on a wooden stake. He looked so miserable. He must have been tortured before he died. So King cruel. How much hatred did he have? Shisheng stared at the body and shook his head. She killed people as fast as she could. What was the use of torture? Anyway, he would die in the end. No, which idiot destroyed the Swallow Valley in front of her? How could she bring him back now? How could she sleep with her daughter-in-law? If she brought a corpse back, would she admit it? So angry. Just as Shisheng was about to explode, a group of people came from outside the valley. They were chasing after Si Kong Feng. Did he go in? He should have. There's nowhere to hide. Yanhui Valley is in front. Should we break in? Yanhui Valley was very famous in the martial arts world, especially the Valley Master. Chapter 1048. The Valley Master of Swallow Valley was called Yan Huichun. His skills matched his name very well. He was a doctor who saved the dying and healed the injured. He was known as a godly doctor in the pugilistic world. In other words, every Valley Master of Swallow Valley was a godly doctor. This was a hereditary organization of godly doctors. Now the godly doctors organization had been wiped out. The hereditary inheritance was over. It was so sad. When Shisheng went out, he bumped into the people entering the valley. Lu Yu. Why was she here? Was she also chasing after Sikong Feng? Everyone's gaze quickly swept behind her. They saw some corpses lying there from afar. Everyone's expression changed. They shouted, "You killed the people of Swallow Valley? Hey, be reasonable. They were already dead when I came." Shisheng was furious. I still wanted to talk to the murderer about life. Lu Yu, stop quibbling. Why did you kill the people of Swallow Valley? She actually dared to quibble when she was caught on the spot. Shisheng glared at the person who spoke. I said it wasn't I. Throwing all the blame to I. Making me take the blame just because of a disagreement. No. Someone else asked, "Where is the Valley Master?" Shisheng used his chin to point in the direction of the square. "He's hanging over there." "Hanging dead? You still say you didn't kill them? Lu Yu, why are you so crazy? You want to wipe out the entire Swallow Valley, leaving no one alive. If they had an incurable disease in the future, where would they find someone to treat them? I's not blind. Can't you see him hanging over there? A bunch of retards." It hadn't been long since the people from Yanhui Valley died, and she happened to be here. This kind of perfect and impeccable framing. Shisheng narrowed his eyes and looked at the angry crowd. "Why are you here? Lu Yu, you haven't answered our question." One of the men shouted. Shisheng didn't back down and shouted back, "Shout your head. Answer I's question." Everyone. What did he mean by being more arrogant than them? Probably because Shisheng's aura was a little scary, someone couldn't help but answer. "We're chasing after Sikong Feng." Male lead Darren? Cut the crap. Capture her first. Regardless of whether she was the murderer or not, there was nothing wrong with arresting her. Her hands were not clean. Hey, why are you guys so unreasonable? I wanted to have a good talk with you, but you just had to fight. I'm taking action, but you guys just have to use your mouth. This is simply cat biscuits. Shisheng unsheathed his Qi Ming sword and swung it. The first person to pounce on him was sent flying by the sword Qi and fell into the field. Qi Mingjian. That's Qi Mingjian. Qi Tongjian? Wasn't it at the Snowy Mountain Villa? Why are you here? Is this really Qi Mingjian? I've never seen him before, but he does look similar to the rumors. The people of Jianghu would fight over things like peerless weapons, martial arts, sword techniques, and treasures. The Qi Ming sword was considered a peerless weapon, but to be able to recognize it at a glance, Shisheng looked at the person who shouted first. He looked very ordinary, and could be easily found in a crowd. Being stared at by Shisheng, he might have felt guilty, but he raised his arm and shouted, "Snatch it!" His shout made the people who were still doubting whether it was real or fake immediately come back to their senses. Seeing that the people around them were starting to rush towards Shisheng, they followed the crowd to snatch the sword. Regardless of whether it was real or not, they had to snatch it first. The situation was out of control. Everyone surrounded Shisheng. She was not used to using the Qi Ming sword. It was too heavy, and it did not look cool when she swung it. It looked like a juggler. She really did not understand what the person who made this sword was thinking. Seeing that Shisheng had dealt with this group, another group of people came from the entrance. Seeing that Shisheng was on a killing spree, they did not care about anything else and directly attacked Shisheng. The entire valley was filled with the deafening sounds of fighting. 3 or 4 groups of people came one after another. Shisheng was like a big boss waiting for these players to push him. In the end, they were pushed back by the boss. If she said that there was no conspiracy, she would write her name backwards. The male lead Darren with an IQ online was really scary. Asterisk flips table asterisk, this baby only wants an NPC with an IQ that is not online. What the hell is an AI for? Strength does not allow for schemes. I do not want to play anymore. I will go back and find my wife to calm down. Shisheng dragged Qi Ming's sword away. The entire valley was dead silent. After some time, a figure appeared in front of the mountain of corpses. He looked at the corpses on the ground with a gloomy face. Almost all of them were killed in one move. How unfathomable was her strength! The news that Lu Yu massacred the Yanhui Valley and killed many people in the Jianghu immediately hit the headlines and became the topic of conversation for the people in the Jianghu. After this incident, Si Kongfeng, who was being chased until he could not breathe, had a partner who could share his joys and sorrows. Shisheng returned to Qianyu Pavilion half dead. She went straight to Qi An's pavilion. Shisheng's body was stained with a lot of blood. Qi Ming's sword was also covered in blood. When the people guarding the pavilion saw her like this, they thought that something big had happened and quickly stopped her. Shisheng easily put the people down and jumped through the window to the 3rd floor. Before she entered the room, the door opened. Qian came out of the room, and the two stared at each other in the corridor. Qian's gaze swept over her body and he frowned. For some reason, his heart hurt a little. He couldn't help but ask, "How did you get like this?" Shisheng looked down at his body and curled his lips in disgust. There was an idiot who schemed against I. I was scared to death. Qian. I didn't see where you were scared. Instead, there was a bit of a gloomy feeling. Oh, male. Si Kongfeng. Those who dared to scheme against her, other than the male and female lead who had the support of the plot, there was only the mentally retarded Mu Bai who was addicted to suicide. Qian wanted to ask if she was injured, but he swallowed it back down. Instead he said, "Where is he? Don't you care about me?" Qian was silent. Shisheng. Silence without a word. Very good. This was very Feng Xi. Dead. He died when I went there. Qian really wanted to ask, "Were you really not the one who killed him?" But looking at the sword in her hand and his innocence, he silently swallowed the question. Who is the murderer? Shisheng decisively slandered the male lead. Si Kongfeng. Si Kongfeng. The young master of the Si Kong family. He heard that he coveted the 1,000 threads ice silkworm in his hands. Recently, there were rumors that this Si Kongfeng was fake. Qian's eyes turned slightly and his voice was soft. Lu Yu, the previous conditions are invalid. Why? He died first. It's not like I can't bring him back. If you want a corpse, I can bring it back for you. Qian. Who wants a corpse? Shisheng continued to brag. You can't find someone as capable as me even if you look for a lantern. Pavilion Master, do you really not want me? Chapter 1049. No matter what Shisheng said, Qian didn't relent. So angry. Pavilion Master. Qian suddenly retreated and quickly entered the room. He closed the door and blocked Shisheng outside. His voice came from the room. Go back and change into clean clothes. Shisheng looked down at his clothes and knocked on the door with his sword. I don't mind changing at Pavilion Master's place. I mind. Shisheng. Mind my ass. I don't want to play with you anymore. Qian didn't hear anything for a long time. He stood at the door for a while and opened it. There was no one outside. He stared at the place where Shisheng was just standing. He was a bit distracted. Master? Why was Master distracted again? Master's condition hasn't been right recently. Did something big happen? Qian calmly retracted his gaze and turned to enter the room. Zheng Rong looked at the place where Qian was just looking. There was nothing special. He followed Qian in. Master, news just came. Yan Huichan is dead. Amen, he already knew. Zheng Rong was used to his master being so calm. Do you know who killed him? Qian gave a name without hesitation. Lu Yu. Master, how do you know? It's not her. Ah. Why wasn't it her again? You just said it was her. Master, your face changed too quickly. Zheng Rong saw that his master didn't want to explain, so he could only investigate himself. Master, Yan Huichan is dead. This subordinate will take people to Yanhui Valley to take a look. The thing should still be there. Qian was silent for a while. I'll go personally. Zheng Rong was a bit surprised. He looked at Qian several times and bowed. Then this subordinate will go prepare. When Qian went out, Zheng Rong would usually follow him. Sometimes people from the dark hall would secretly follow, but if Qian and Zheng Rong were too fast, they would lose them. Qian and Zheng Rong left Qianyu Pavilion in the middle of the night. They thought that no one would notice, but when they met Shisheng with his sword, their expressions were a bit strange. Pavilion Master, what a coincidence. Shisheng waved at Qian unfortunately. She was waiting for him. Qian was very sure. Lu Yu, what are you doing here? Zheng Rong glared at Shisheng. He didn't know what his lord was thinking. How could he allow her to cross the line like this? Catching them in the act. Zheng Rong was curious. Catch what adultery? Pavilion Master eloped with you in the middle of the night. Isn't he trying to catch you in the act? Cough cough. Zheng Rong choked on his saliva. Did this woman eat a bear's heart or a leopard's guts? He and the Pavilion Master were out on official business. What's more, you're not related to his lordship. What's there to catch? If you dare to say such things, his lordship will torture you to death. Zheng Rong looked at Qian expectantly. He had long found this woman unpleasing to the eye. Lord, hurry up and kill her. However, Qian only said softly, you go back. Zheng Rong. His lord must have been poisoned. How could he be so rebellious and only ask her to go back? Why are you still here? After Zheng Rong complained, he saw Shisheng still standing in front of him. Shisheng smiled and said, why should I leave? The Pavilion Master called for you. How could his lordship? Zheng Rong's words were annihilated when Qian looked over. Was he really calling for him? No, his lordship. Why did you choose her? This woman doesn't seem to have good intentions. His lordship, what you're doing is wrong. Zheng Rong could only watch as his lordship and Shisheng left and disappeared into the night. He looked up at the dark starless night sky. What's going on? What's wrong with his lordship? Shisheng and Qian walked side by side on a dark path. It was already winter and the insects were hibernating. No sound could be heard around them. How did you know I was going out? Qian's voice traveled through the night. Shisheng made a sound and reached out to grab his hand. Lu Yu. Qian called out in warning. Lung. Shisheng's voice was very soft, like a cat's mewling. It scratched Qian's heart and made him feel uncomfortable. Taking advantage of Qian's absent-mindedness, Shisheng quickly reached her hand into his cloak and placed it in his hand. Her hand was very cold, like ice. Qian pulled back his hand and turned to look at the person next to him. He could only see an outline, but he didn't know why, but he could feel that she was smiling. He hesitated and held her hand. Can you say it now? Shisheng leaned toward him, and her voice slowly sounded in the darkness. I told you that Yan Huichun was dead, but you weren't surprised at all. You didn't show any other emotions, which proves that you're not worried about whether he's dead or not. What you're looking for isn't Yan Huichun, but something else. If this thing is important to you, you'll definitely go to Yan Huichun in person, so I'll wait for you there. Qian recalled the scene at that time. She didn't show anything, but she had already analyzed so many things. Then what am I looking for? How would I know what you're looking for? Shisheng retorted without any trace of politeness. She could analyze some things from what had happened, but how could she analyze something that had no trace at all? Blind guesses needed evidence. Qian let go of Shisheng and distanced himself from her. Shisheng, I'll tell you if you're going to be beaten like this. You're so arrogant at the slightest disagreement. Shisheng continued to lean over. Then what are you looking for? Qian didn't speak. He wouldn't tell her. Qian continued to walk forward, but as he walked, he suddenly realized that the person beside him had disappeared. He turned his head and saw a blurry outline on the path in the distance. She stood there without moving. Qian turned his head and continued to walk forward. The path was winding, and soon he couldn't see the scene behind him. After a long time he stopped and turned to walk back. The blurry outline became clear in his eyes again. The closer he got to her, the faster his heart beat. It was a very strange, but also very familiar heartbeat. He deliberately slowed down his pace. By the time he was in front of her, his heartbeat had calmed down. I knew you would come back. The woman's voice was light, with certainty and confidence. What if I don't? You will. Are you so sure? Of course. Qian was in a daze for a moment. He looked at the woman in front of him, and had an impulse to spoil her. After a long time, he sighed in his heart and reached out to take her hand. Let's go. We have to get to Yanhui Valley before dawn. Carry me. Qian. He really wanted to press her into a crack in the ground. Give her an inch and she wants a yard. Shameless. Asterisk. This is a fake group, little fairy. It's time to start spreading dog food again. Cherub, we like dog food. Little fairy. What can I say? I'm also desperate. What if I don't want to update? Cherub. What do you want? Little fairy. Vote to save my heart that's stuffed with dog food. Cherub. That's how I know. System. It's all a routine. Little fairy. Routine wins people's hearts. Shishang. Little fairy. I don't know anything. Hurry up and vote. I'll get lost first. Chapter 1050. Because Shishang's request was too excessive, Qian didn't hesitate to leave her behind. At least there was some progress. Shishang didn't make any trouble and followed him. Shishang, who didn't have an iron sword as a means of transportation, struggled to follow behind Qian. When they arrived at Yangui Valley, it was already some time after dawn. Shishang leaned on Qian's sword and panted behind him. Qian had already entered the valley along with the blood on the ground. The corpses of the people Shishang killed were still piled up there. Fortunately, the weather wasn't hot and they weren't rotten. However, the strong smell of blood was still unpleasant. Qian's eyes darkened when he saw the corpses. He turned his eyes slightly and looked at the woman behind him. She didn't look this way, but when he looked over, she immediately turned her head and raised the corner of her mouth with a happy smile. Qian calmly moved his gaze away and continued to walk into the valley. Shishang didn't follow him in. Instead, he waited outside for him. About half an hour later, Qian came out from inside. His face was as heavy as water and he couldn't see the result. Found it? Shishang raised his eyebrows and asked him. His expression was a bit suspicious. Qian glanced at her and shook his head. No. Qian thought for a moment. It should have been taken away by someone. What are you looking for? Why did he have to come all the way here? A kind of herb, Qian said. Shishang frowned. Feng Xiai was always sick. If he wasn't mentally ill, then he was physically ill. This time his mental state looked quite normal. Was there a problem with his body? Shishang hadn't figured out whether Qian was mentally ill or physically ill when there was a sudden sound in the air. The next moment, countless arrows shot toward her, and Qian like raindrops. Qian's expression changed slightly. He was about to go forward and pull Shishang away, but the arrows suddenly changed direction and shot back in the direction they came from. A scream sounded from the bushes in the distance. Shishang didn't move from beginning to end. He supported himself with his sword and tilted his head to look at the place where the scream came from. His expression was indifferent and his eyes were calm. He maintained his cool. But his heart was roaring wildly. *CK your grandpa. You only know how to launch sneak attacks. Do you think I'm blind and can't see an ambush? When I launched my sneak attack, you guys were still playing in the mud somewhere. Motherf *Cur, a bunch of idiots. After the first wave of arrows bounced back, the screams only lasted for a while and soon disappeared. The valley returned to silence. Qian didn't know if he was shocked or not, but he tried to reach out to the side. Do you want to die? A fair hand pulled him from behind, and an evil voice sounded in his ears. Your hands are itching to touch me. Qian. I really want to see what's going on in her head all day. But he didn't want to see it. What is this? Qian pulled himself away from Shishang, his gaze sweeping through the void. There was a fluctuation in the air, but it was not qi. Defense array? You wouldn't know about it even if I told you about it. Shishang had an expression that said, your hair is long but your knowledge is short. Qian. Did he look that stupid? He understood what a defensive array was. It wasn't that there weren't any arrays in this era, but those arrays didn't have this kind of power. I'll go kill those people. You stay here. Shi Sheng threw down this sentence and rushed outside, not even giving Qian a chance to speak. The corner of Qian's mouth twitched. Can't you be a little more ladylike? He should be the one saying this now, okay? Shi Sheng quickly came back with a half-dead person in his hand. He threw the person at Qian's feet and grinned gloatingly. It seems that there's a traitor among your people. These people didn't come for her. Qian looked at the person. It was a very unfamiliar face. He didn't recognize him. Who sent you? Qian lowered his eyes slightly. His clear voice carried a bit of danger. The corner of his mouth rose slightly, revealing a good-looking smile. If Zheng Rong was here, he would know that Qian was very angry at this time. The person trembled, but he gritted his teeth and didn't say a word. Shi Sheng suddenly stepped forward and grabbed his chin, forcing him to open his mouth. He said gloomily, "Pavilion Master is asking you a question. Kill yourself after answering." The person was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. Did he still need to kill himself after answering? Shi Sheng turned his wrist and fed him a black ball. The ball melted in his mouth. He could only swallow it because Shi Sheng was holding his chin. It was cold and had a fragrance. What did you eat? The person squeezed out a sentence with difficulty. Shi Sheng smiled with curved eyebrows. Good stuff. Looking at her expression, he knew it wasn't a good thing. The person waited nervously for a moment, but his body didn't feel anything. Shi Sheng loosened his grip. Who sent you? Do you think I'm stupid? Would I tell you? But the next moment, he opened his mouth and spat out a person. Hall Master Feng. The person's eyes widened in disbelief. Why did he say it? How did he know that Pavilion Master would come here? I don't know. Hall Master Feng just ordered us to ambush here, and... Pavilion Master. Stay here forever. What did you do to me? The person looked at Shi Sheng in horror. A necessary tool for extorting a confession by torture. Something that can make you tell the truth. Shi Sheng threw him away and took out a handkerchief to wipe his hands in disgust. Qian looked at her cryptically. His eyes slowly fell on her fingers. The next moment, he suddenly made a move and hit the person on the ground. Qian's internal force shattered his meridians. His eyes were wide open and filled with blood. His vitality was sucked out of his eyes. In the blink of an eye, his breath was gone and he turned into a corpse. Pavilion Master, don't think about being my man. I promise I'll never betray you. Shi Sheng looked at Qian with a smile. Your man. Qian murmured and repeated these 3 words. He slowly raised his head. A very strange and indescribable expression appeared on his jade-like handsome face. There seemed to be a trace of breath leaking out of his body, but in the next second, it disappeared. Along with it, the strange expression on his face disappeared. It was as if Shi Sheng's illusion just now. His voice was soft. Lu Yu, how do you think I should deal with Hall Master Feng? Dismembering him by 5 horses, opening his stomach, cutting him to pieces? Shi Sheng popped out a string of words. Since he's going to die anyway, it's too troublesome. Just kill him with a knife. He couldn't be at ease until he was dead. After all, some people could come back to cause trouble as long as they had a breath left. This was the behavior of a retard. Qian. He shouldn't have asked her. Qian suddenly looked at her. You're not Lu Yu. Shi Sheng blinked and grinned. That's right, I'm not. Is there a problem? Who are you? Why? Did she give him such a different feeling? I'm your wife. Shi Sheng's face was serious. In your last life, you said you would marry me. In the end, you died before you could marry me. I had no choice but to come find you. Qian. You're making it up. Did he look so gullible? Chapter 1051. Qian didn't dwell on the question of who Shi Sheng was. He looked at her meaningfully and took the Qi Mingjian that Shi Sheng had casually inserted into the ground. Let's go. Shi Sheng. F***CK. I sword. Shi Sheng wanted to snatch the Qi Mingjian back, but Qian was already prepared. In addition, he was taller than Shi Sheng, so it was easy for Shi Sheng to not reach it. He looked down at her from above. Lu Yu, there's no benefit for you to hold on to this sword. You make it sound like it's beneficial to you. Give it back to me. I haven't slept with you yet, so I'm not giving it to you. Qian understood the meaning on her face and his mouth twitched. You want to sleep with me that much? I can't wait. Shisheng nodded. Will the pavilion master sleep with me? It depends on your performance. What performance? Wasn't I's performance good enough? Now let go of me. Qian said word by word. Shisheng hung on to Qian. I'm not letting go. Give the Qi Mingjian back to me. Impossible. Hey, you still dare to talk to I's cow. Don't think that I can't bear to hit you. I's anger scared even myself. Qian was beaten up by Shisheng, and the Qi Mingjian was snatched back by her without a doubt. Qian's heart was crumbling. He really wanted to press her into a crack in the ground. Qian sat on the ground, holding on to his cloak. He lowered his head and remained silent, looking at his face from the side. It was a little cold and a little dangerous. Qian was suppressing the violent hostility in his body. Hey! A woman's familiar aura came from the side. Qian suddenly looked up, and the dangerous luster in his eyes could be seen at a glance. That kind of bloodthirsty and ferocious made his body faintly shroud in a layer of terrifying fog. Shisheng. Don't blacken. Shisheng handed the Qi Mingjian over with a helpless expression. For you. Was there a need to blacken over a broken sword? Qian's gaze landed on Qi Ming's sword. The bloodthirstiness in his eyes slowly subsided, and his surroundings returned to silence. He took the Qi Ming sword from Shisheng. When he got up, he touched Shisheng's head. Then he withdrew his hand and walked forward in silence. Shisheng pursed his lips. Just as he was about to hit the barrier, he withdrew the array formation. Shisheng chased after him and held his hand. Qian's body paused for a moment. He glanced at the woman beside him from the corner of his eyes, but in the end he didn't shake her off. After leaving the Swallow Valley, Qian walked in silence for a long time before finally stopping at a deserted grassland. In the distance was a forest. He let go of the Shisheng. Wait for me here. Where are you going? Damn it. Don't tell me you want to run away with your sword? Qian pursed his lips. I'll be back soon. He and Shisheng looked at each other. Shisheng did not nod, but he did not leave. Shisheng frowned and took out the watch from his space. He pulled Qian's hand and put it on. The watch was more exquisite than before. On his wrist, it was as if it was tailor-made. It fit him very well. What is this? You wouldn't know even if I told you. Shisheng waved his hand. Hurry up and get lost. If you don't come back in 2 hours, I'll leave. Qian. Shouldn't you have said that if you don't come back in 2 hours, you'll go find him? Why did he leave? Was he planning to sleep with someone else? Qian seemed a little angry. He quickly rushed into the forest and disappeared in the blink of an eye. There was fog in the forest, and the scenery 1 meter away couldn't be seen clearly. However, Qian moved freely inside as if he had a clear goal. After passing through the forest, the fog disappeared and the scenery in front of him opened up. An exquisite small building stood in the open space. Red flowers were planted around the building, and the air was filled with a fragrance. Creak. The door of the small building opened, and a little girl came out. She bowed to Qian. Young Master Qi, the girl invites you in. No need. Qian's expression was cold. I've brought the thing. The little girl smiled. Young Master Qi, the girl invites you in. Qian turned and left. Young Master Qi. Another pleasant voice sounded. A woman walked out of the small building with small steps. Young Master Qi is still so unromantic. The woman was dressed in a white dress. Her skin was like cream and there was a hint of weakness between her eyebrows. Her eyes were sparkling and her delicate cherry lips were slightly curved. She was a soul-stirring beauty. Qian stood with his back to the woman. He raised his hand and threw the Qi Ming sword over. He turned around. The thing. The woman's beautiful eyes swept over the Qi Ming sword that was inserted in front of her. Young Master Qi is indeed powerful. The thing. The woman laughed. Young Master Qi, this is only one of the conditions. There's another one. Qian's eyes turned cold. He suddenly realized that the woman outside was quite cute. At least she didn't make him feel so disgusted. Shisheng looked at the sky and counted the time. Flutter, flutter. Suddenly, a bird fluttered out of the forest. breaking the silence of this world. Shisheng looked sideways, and there seemed to be a sound coming from the depths of the forest. Shisheng stared in that direction for a long time, before flashing into the forest. The fog in the forest instantly made him lose his direction. Formation? Shisheng took out an energy ball and threw it forward. The explosion swept away the fog, and the road ahead immediately became clear. Shisheng brutally blasted his way in. The outside of the small building inside was a mess. There were dead flowers and withered branches. Qian half knelt on the ground. Not far away, the woman in white held the Qi Ming sword and supported herself on the ground. Her beautiful face was full of determination. Shisheng rushed out of the forest and went forward to help Qian up. Pfft. Qian suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. All the strength in his body pressed down on Shisheng. Shisheng reached out to touch his wrist. He glanced at the watch from the corner of his eyes. There were no traces of it being touched. It wasn't an external attack. Qian pulled her hand back. Why did you come in? If I didn't come in, you would have King died. Shisheng glared at him. Who are you? The woman in white looked at the person who suddenly broke in. Let go of him. Let go of your grandpa. Shisheng was furious at this time. He suddenly raised his hand. The Qi Ming sword in the woman's hand instantly flew toward him, and accurately fell into his hand. The woman's eyes widened. Her face was full of disbelief. You dare to touch I's people? You must be tired of living. Shisheng swung Qi Ming, causing an earth-shattering torrent of air to sweep towards the woman. The woman was sent flying by the torrent before being hit by the torrent, causing her to fall from the sky like an angel with broken wings. Of course, if you ignored the frightened expression on the woman's face. Shisheng threw away the Qi Ming sword after waving it. He held Qian's waist and used his other hand to check his pulse. Qian's pulse was very messy and weak. It seemed that he would die at any time. She quickly took out some pills and steeled her heart. Since he was going to die anyway, she didn't care. She fed him. What if he survived? It was really scary to meet such a person. She mourned for Feng Xi for 3 seconds. Qian didn't know what she gave him to eat. After eating it, his body felt even more uncomfortable. It was as if something was tearing and expanding to the point of bursting. Luyu. I'm here. Caven ha 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 hashtag. Today I'm looking for apricot flavored tickets hashtag. Chapter 1052. When Qian woke up, he found himself lying on an unfamiliar bed. His body seemed to have been crushed by something. When he moved, it was like countless knives were cutting him. You're awake. A face suddenly appeared in front of him. Qian was stunned. Luyu. Shisheng sat by the bed, and the corners of his mouth curved. And the after effects are a bit serious. Just bear with it. After effects? What after effects? It took Qian a while to remember what she gave him to eat. What was that? The pain in his body swept over wave after wave. Qian's brows furrowed into a ball. This feeling was even more unbearable than what he had experienced before. Ugh. Qian couldn't help but groan. Shisheng scratched his head. He didn't have any spiritual energy in his body. Feeding him pills. It was already amazing for him to be alive, so she could only watch the after effects. Qian's forehead was covered in cold sweat. His black hair scattered on his body. His handsome face was deathly pale. He pursed his lips tightly, not allowing himself to make a sound. At this moment, he felt as if all the meridians in his body had been shattered, then reorganized, and shattered again, constantly repeating, Luyu. Qian suddenly panicked. He desperately wanted to know if she was still by his side. Qian's lips suddenly felt cold. A familiar breath hit him in the face. Her gentle kiss seemed to have alleviated the pain in his body. Qian's mind was a bit blank. He didn't know how to react and could only let his body play freely. Qian didn't know how long he had endured. After the wave of pain disappeared, there was a very abundant energy flowing in his body, repairing his meridians that were riddled with holes. He raised his hand and looked at his palm. He looked at it over and over again, as if to determine if it was his claw. Suddenly, a pair of hands appeared beside him. They grabbed his hand and wiped it with a warm handkerchief. Tian stared at the person wiping his hands. He didn't know what he was thinking, but his face suddenly flushed red. "What are you doing?" Tian felt a chill on his chest. He woke up in an instant and found that his clothes had been torn open. He quickly covered it with his hand. "You're covered in sweat. Let me wipe it for you." Shisheng answered very seriously, without any ambiguity. Being told by Shisheng like that, Tian also felt that his body was sticky and uncomfortable. "I want to take a bath." "Wash my ass. Do you think this is your home?" Shisheng rolled his eyes. Tian's expression turned ugly. Shisheng had to lower his voice. "Your body shouldn't touch water. You have to rest for a few more days." Tian was silent for a moment. "I'll do it myself." Shisheng looked at him with a faint smile and stuffed the handkerchief into his hand. "Okay, you can do it yourself. Turn around." Shisheng shrugged and turned around obediently, but soon Tian was dumbfounded. Other than his hands, his body was very stiff and he couldn't move at all. He looked at the woman who was standing with her back to him and gritted his teeth. He wasn't going to wipe anymore. Shisheng turned around, but Tian had already turned his head to the other side. She really didn't know who had called her name so frequently. Shisheng stepped forward and twisted the handkerchief again. He lifted the quilt and took off his clothes. "Lu Yu, I won't wipe." Tian grabbed his collar and was a little flustered. "Let go. I will wipe you. That's your blessing for several lifetimes. You have no right to refuse. Let go. You can be served by her, but you're not grateful. You're actually not willing. Who gave you the courage?" Tian's face was hot. He gritted his teeth and said, "I won't." The overbearing CEO Shisheng came online and directly forced his hand away. He tore off his clothes in a few moves. Tian. His chastity was gone. In the end, Tian was a little tired from struggling. He could only accept his fate. He stared at her with a heavy face and let her touch his body. He wanted to chop off her claws. After wiping the top, Shisheng reached out to untie his pants. This time Tian exploded. "Lu Yu." "What? You're not allowed." "What's not allowed?" Shisheng tilted his head and looked at him. Tian took 2 breaths. "You're not allowed to take off my pants. Anyway, you'll see it in the future. Sooner or later, you'll see it. What's there to be shy about?" "Tian." "Who's shy?" "He's not shy." Shisheng ignored Tian's murderous eyes and carefully wiped his whole body clean. After that, Tian didn't pay attention to Shisheng for 3 days. Thinking of his embarrassing state that day, Tian wanted to press Shisheng into a crack in the ground. 3 days later, Tian could get out of bed. He stared at the woman who tied his cloak. The emotions in his eyes were a little complicated. "What are you looking at me for? Did you find that I'm beautiful again? Do you love me more?" Shisheng looked up and met his gaze. He immediately raised a smile. Shameless. Tian wrapped his whole body in the cloak. "Where is this place?" Shisheng curled his lips. "I don't know." How did she know where the hell this place was? Shisheng thought of another thing. "Oh, that woman was tied up outside by me. Did I kill her or something?" Tian's eyes immediately flashed with danger. He opened the door and went out. A gust of cold wind blew in his face. It was bone-chilling. It was still that small building. The ground was covered with a layer of white snow. The forest in the distance was wrapped in silver. Sparkling and translucent snowflakes fell from the sky, constantly dyeing the world pure white. It was snowing. The woman was tied to a wooden stake outside the small building. Her white dress was stained with blood. She was in a sorry state and her breath was weak. Qi Ming's sword was stabbed in front of her. There was a layer of snow on it. Tian walked in front of the woman. "Where is the thing?" The woman didn't move for a long time. After a while, she slowly raised her head. Her face was red from the cold, and her eyes were swollen. Seeing the person standing in front of her, the woman suddenly became excited. "Tian, why can she follow you?" "Why?" He didn't know. She suddenly barged in, and he didn't want to expel her. It was that simple. Tian didn't answer. "Where is the thing?" "The thing. I won't tell you," the woman murmured. The next moment she shouted with a ferocious face, "If I can't have you, no one else can." Qian reached out from under the cloak. His slender fingers grasped Qi Ming's sword in the cold wind and gently pulled it out. "Qian, if you kill me, you won't know for the rest of your life." Qian was unmoved. Qi Ming's sword drew a beautiful arc and easily pierced the woman's chest. The woman's eyes widened in disbelief. "You Qian, you will die?" "I will die. In this world, no one will know that you will die. Ha 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 ha, you will die. I will wait for you on the road to the Yellow Springs." The woman's crazy voice gradually weakened. She stared at the woman leaning against the door. Why did she enter his eyes? Asterisk, this is a fake group. Woman. Why don't I have a name as a love rival? Little fairy, you think too much. Woman. What do you mean? System. You named yourself a love rival. Woman. Chapter 1053. Qian pulled out the bloodstained Qi Ming sword. There was a faint black aura on the sword that wanted to wrap around Qian's wrist. A hand suddenly grasped it. The black aura seemed to have met something terrible and instantly disappeared. Qian turned to look at her. His lips pursed and his voice was clear. "You heard it. I'm going to die. So, take Lu Lin away from Qianyu Pavilion. Don't come near me again." Qian broke free from Shisheng. His figure quickly flew towards the top of the forest. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared into the boundless snow. Shisheng. There's cat biscuits. If we're going to die, we're going to die together. What's there to be afraid of? Shisheng put his hands on his hips. So angry. Qianyu Pavilion recently had a big purge. The leaders of the Hall of Penal Law and Wind and Cloud Hall had changed. As for where the former leader went, no one knew. The new leader was swift and decisive. Anyone who had a bit of disloyalty was secretly dealt with. However, they found that the people in Qianyu Pavilion didn't decrease by much. Qian wasn't in the pavilion. This was the conclusion that Shisheng came to after guarding his residence several times. Everything was handled by Zheng Rong. "You're asking me? Lu Yu, shouldn't I be the one asking you this?" Zheng Rong's expression was a bit cold. "Master went out with you and never came back. He shouldn't have let Master go out with her. He never came back? What happened recently?" Shisheng paused. "He arranged it long ago." Zheng Rong snorted. "If Master didn't say not to make things difficult for you, you would have died long ago." Shisheng's stomach hurt. Why was this idiot so difficult to deal with? Shisheng settled Lu Lin down and disappeared. The latest news in Jianghu was that Yanhui Valley was slaughtered, and that Si Kongfeng was the devil. However, the people involved in these two things never appeared again. Without the people involved, the heat of the matter gradually died down. At this time, many people in Jianghu began to die for no reason. The people who died were all people of virtue and prestige. Some people found that the way they died was the same as how Lu Yu killed people. Thus, the entire Jianghu started a crusade against Shisheng. Shisheng was very innocent. She didn't do anything, okay? You casually slandered I. Let me tell you, you will be chopped by I if you do that. Wait a minute, this method of framing. Mu bai. F***CKU, you idiot. She had thought that it was Si Kongfeng who did the Swallow Valley incident. Now that she thought about it, only Mu bai, that retard, liked to do such things. Mother***ker, if you have the guts, come at me head on. What kind of man was he to do something behind their backs? Shisheng did not want to admit the truth. Mu bai was very smart and scheming. The most infuriating thing was that he was just like him. Even if he died, he would still be alive and kicking in the next plane. What was even more infuriating was that Mu bai seemed to know who she was in every plane, but she did not know his identity. System, what's the point of having you? My data does not include viruses. The system defended itself. It wasn't that it didn't know, but that its owner hadn't updated it yet. Where was the promised intelligence? What kind of intelligence was this? You must be a fake, right? The system went silent and went offline in the next second. Shisheng. Did I say something weird? The system should be intelligent, although it was a little dumb. So why was the system throwing a tantrum? The system went offline for a few days. When it came back online, it found its host in the wilderness. The sound of ghosts crying and wolves howling was particularly horrifying. Host, what are you doing? Shisheng stood in the snow. Catching a snake. Why are you catching a snake for no reason? Didn't you have any psychological trauma from the previous plane? You still want to catch a snake. Why are you catching a snake in the middle of winter? Snakes need to hibernate, okay? While the system was still in a daze, Shisheng caught a white snake. It was pure white and almost blended in with the snow. It was a very small snake that could only be used as a bracelet when wrapped around the wrist. Shisheng took out a bottle and stuffed it into the space. The next step is to find that retard. System, give me the coordinates. Reject. I don't want to contribute to the host's mission. Jinzhou City. Sob sob sob. The one talking is definitely not me, not me, not me. Although the system gave him the coordinates, it was a big address. Without the detailed coordinates, Shisheng could only go to Jinzhou City first. The whole Jinzhou City was covered in snow. There were few pedestrians on the streets. Shisheng entered the city safely. Well, he climbed over the wall. She would cause a commotion if she walked in now. She had to keep a low profile. Miss, do you want to have your fortune told? As soon as Shisheng walked out of the alley, he was stopped by a charlatan. I see that your glabella is dark. I'm afraid there will be a bloody disaster in the near future. Shisheng glanced at him. I see that your glabella is dark. I'm afraid there will be a bloody disaster in the near future. Are you trying to trick people into believing that you're in the same industry? After all, I used to be a charlatan. The charlatan. F***ck. Who would know that you're in the same industry when you're dressed like this? You don't even wear your outfit when you go out to do business. The charlatan coughed. It's just that the weather is cold and there's no business. Shisheng rolled his eyes and walked past him. After walking a few steps, he turned back. Have you been in Jinzhou City all this time? Yes, did you just come to Jinzhou City? Let me tell you, it's not easy to do business here. I'm preparing for spring. Shisheng interrupted the chattering charlatan. Have you seen a particularly good-looking man wrapped in a white cloak with black patterns? Asking about people? There's business. There are so many people coming and going in Jinzhou City. How can I remember so many people? The charlatan's eyes turned and he stretched out his hand to twist it. His meaning was obvious. Give me money. Shisheng took out some money and handed it to him. Miss, please describe him in detail. After taking the money, the charlatan also acted like a businessman. Shisheng described Qian's characteristics. The charlatan thought for a while and pointed in a direction. I seem to have seen him this morning, but I don't know if he's still there now. That person was covered in blood. I don't know who he offended. Before the charlatan could finish his words, there was already no trace of the woman in front of him. His peers could now walk on snow without leaving a trace? This business was getting harder and harder. In a dark alley, the cold wind blew. A dark red trail meandered in the snow, and the entire alley seemed to be filled with the smell of blood. Most of the man's body was hidden in the dark. He sat there quietly. People who didn't know him would think that he was a dead person. Qian stared at his hands with empty eyes. They were so pale that the blood vessels on them could be seen. Soon, that strange force could only make him feel better, but it couldn't make him better. Crash! Someone landed at the end of the alley and was coming over. His shoes stepped on the snow, making a slight sound. Qian slowly raised his head to look. Chapter 1054. Qian stood up from the ground. Frost seemed to have condensed between his brows. Pavilion Master Qi. Sikong Feng looked at the person opposite him. At this point, are you still unwilling to give it to me? Qian shook the Qi Ming sword. An invisible pressure formed in the air. Sikong Feng's gaze flashed past the Qi Ming sword. There was a moment of darkness. This sword should have been his. Pavilion Master Qi has been searching for the jade coral for many years. But a few days ago, I received news that the only person in the world who knows the whereabouts of the jade coral has died. Qian still did not answer. Sikong Feng was not angry. He continued, Pavilion Master Qi, Do you think you can defeat me now? You want the 1,000 threads ice silkworm? Qian's voice was still pleasant to hear. In the cold current, it added a bit of coldness. Come and get it if you have the life. Xikongfeng's gaze met Qian's. In that instant, sparks seemed to fly. The falling snowflakes seemed to be crushed by something and disappeared into the air. The things in the alley began to crack and shatter into pieces. Xikongfeng's figure suddenly retreated, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He clutched his chest as if he was in disbelief. He was clearly at the end of his road. How could he still have such powerful strength? Qian lowered his eyes slightly and looked at his wrist. The heat on his wrist was fading. The fluctuation was the same as what he felt in Swallow Return Valley. Defensive array. Her voice seemed to still linger in his ears. It was incomparably clear. The thoughts that had been suppressed by Qian suddenly grew wildly. He missed her. Unfortunately, they might never meet again. Qian's mouth pulled into a bitter arc. He waved the Qi Ming sword and swept toward Xikongfeng. Xikongfeng was shocked and quickly returned to defend. The two of them were evenly matched. When they fought, neither of them gained an advantage. Xikongfeng, F***CK your uncle. A berating voice sounded from behind. Qian's body suddenly stiffened. He turned back to look at the sky. A figure quickly descended. Xikongfeng took the opportunity to hit Qian. In the next instant, Xikongfeng's figure flew out and hit the wall beside him. Shisheng rushed to Qian's side. Are you okay? Qian looked at her in a daze, as if he didn't believe that she would appear here. Shisheng did not hear anything for a long time. He was a little annoyed. What the F***CK? Have you been turned into a mute? Say something. The familiar way of speaking let Qian know that it was not an illusion. She really appeared in front of him. He parted his dry lips, a smile spreading in his eyes. Luyu. Shisheng lifted his cloak to take a look. There were several wounds inside, and blood was seeping out. The cloak was also stained with blood, and it was dyed red. Who did it? Shisheng brushed his hair with his hand, his face a little gloomy. I don't know him. Qian paused. I killed him. There were too many people who wanted the Qi Mingjian, so how could he remember who they were? Shisheng kissed her on the lips. Wait for me. She turned and walked towards Xikongfeng. Xikongfeng wanted to get up, but before he could, he was kicked back down by Shisheng. Luyu. It was her again. Xikongfeng, you've got guts, eh? Shisheng looked down at Xikongfeng, her lips curling in a smile. You dare to touch my LZ people? Not to mention that you're the male lead. Even if you're the Jade Emperor, I will kill you. Shisheng tied Xikongfeng up. Xikongfeng struggled. Luyu, what are you doing? I'm going to kill you. Wasn't it obvious? Why did he still ask? Was he stupid? Pavilion Master, come and help me. Shisheng turned and called Qian slowly walked forward. He looked at Shisheng and asked silently. Kill him. Shisheng pointed at Xikongfeng. Qian was a little curious why Shisheng didn't do it himself, but seeing her serious expression, he hesitated and pursed his lips. Qian raised his sword without hesitation, preparing to send the Qi Mingjian into Xikongfeng's chest. In the blink of an eye, a small black ball fell from the sky. Smoke instantly overflowed and blocked Shisheng's line of sight. Shisheng immediately pulled Qian away. When they left the smoky area, the alley had already returned to silence. The smoke slowly dispersed. Xikongfeng was long gone. Shisheng wasn't too disappointed. The male lead was a bug. No matter what she did, there would be accidents. She didn't doubt that even if the male lead was locked up, the ground might suddenly collapse and the male lead would be forced to live. Being favored was just that awesome. Take it off. Shisheng looked at Qian. I can do it myself. Shisheng frowned. Take it off. Qian struggled for a while, lowered his eyebrows and eyes, and slowly took off his clothes. One by one, the clothes fell, and his white chest was exposed to the air. There were several wounds on it, some of which had already begun to scar, but some were fresh. Shisheng calmly cleaned his wounds, applied medicine and bandaged them. His movements were practiced and smooth. How did you find me? Shisheng casually talked nonsense. Hearts linked. Qian asked again. Why did you come to find me? Oh, you want to run? Shisheng sneered. The person I like can only die by my side. Where do you want to run? Qian. He didn't want to run. Who said he wanted to run? Take off your pants. There are no injuries under my body. Why did he have to take off his pants every time? Shameless. Shisheng gave him a cold look. Qian immediately cowered and reached out to take off his pants. His cheeks were hot and he didn't dare to look at Shisheng. Even if a man asked him to take off his pants, he might want to kill him. But in front of her, other than the unspeakable nervousness, he didn't have any other emotions. There were indeed no wounds under his body. Shisheng checked again and stuffed him into the quilt. Sleep. That. Qian reached out to grab Shisheng. Shisheng looked back at him and didn't say anything, waiting for him to continue. After a while, Qian said, Can you stay in the room? He was afraid that he would wake up and find that it was just a dream. After waking up, it would still be endless cold and loneliness. Oh, you want me to sleep with you? Qian. He didn't mean that. He just wanted her to stay in the room. You don't want to sleep with me? Then I'll go out. Shisheng continued to walk out. Qian's fingers tightened, and he grabbed her hand with some force. A subtle voice spread in the room. Don't go. Beg me. Shisheng turned around and looked at the person on the bed with a smile that wasn't a smile. You didn't let I sleep before. Qian struggled a few more times and finally seemed to make up his mind. Please. Shisheng was stunned for a moment. After a moment, he lowered his eyes and stuffed his hand back. His voice was soft. Sleep, I won't go. Qian stared at her for a long time, as if to make sure that she really wouldn't leave. He slowly closed his eyes and his breathing gradually stabilized. Well, I just want to ask for a simple vote. Ask for monthly votes. Ask for votes. Chapter 1055. Qian bought almost everything along the way. If it weren't for the space, Shisheng suspected that he would have been drowned by those things. Qian didn't care where she put the things, he just kept buying and buying. Hand over the money. Shisheng couldn't stand it anymore, and was ready to take over the financial power. Qian felt around his body and took out a few stacks of silver notes and some broken silver. He handed them all to Shisheng. But Shisheng found that even if he took his money, he could still buy things back. Qianyu Pavilion had properties all over the place. Qian wasn't afraid of not being able to pay the bill. What should he do if he had someone he liked to buy? It wasn't easy to get to the place where the Alliance leader meeting was held. Qian actually wanted to buy. Do you want to buy the Alliance leader's villa? Shisheng put his hands on his hips and asked Qian. Qian thought about it seriously for a while. Although he said seriously, it's a bit difficult, but if little you likes it, I can try. Shisheng facepalmed. This person was lucky to be born in ancient times. If he was in modern times, he would be a domineering, loyal dog president. He would buy it without a word. Don't buy it. Let's go. Shisheng dragged Qian to the Alliance leader's villa. Qian looked at the things he didn't have time to pay for with a little disappointment. Who do you want to kill? Shisheng didn't ask Qian along the way. Qian didn't say who he wanted to kill. Zhuyu. Zhuyu? This name, the current Alliance leader. A high status, a good background, and awesome strength. This person had a good reputation in Jianghu. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to become the Alliance leader. Qian only said that he had a grudge with Zhuyu. Qian didn't elaborate. Shisheng saw that he was a little blackened, and didn't dare to continue asking. The blackened Feng Xi was too annoying. Because they didn't have an invitation, they couldn't go in openly. The two of them could only sneak in. At this time, the Alliance leader meeting had already begun. Of course, they didn't come to participate in the Alliance leader meeting. It didn't matter if it started or not. There was a previous plane where Shisheng also participated in the Alliance leader meeting, and made a mess of other people's Alliance leader meeting. Host, please control your primitive power. Don't cause trouble. Although the system's warning was useless as a system, it still had its professional integrity. Shisheng ignored the system and turned to speak to Qian. You should be presiding over the League Leader Conference right now. Should we just kill our way in? Qian. Why did he have to directly kill his way over? They were an assassin organization. Assassin organizations kill people in the dark. Do you understand? Qi secretly glanced at the eager Shisheng and sighed in his heart. He pulled the Shisheng to a remote place. So what are we doing here? Shisheng looked at the green leaves around him unhappily, as well as the beautiful little red flower beside him. Qian little red flower, Qi thought. Wait for excellence. Chinibusheng came online. Just kill them. Why do we have to wait for him? Where did he get the confidence to make I wait? Little red flower, Qian pulled Shisheng into his arms. I want to stay with you for a while. We can go back to the room and learn from each other after killing them. It was as if we hadn't been together before. Qian. After killing people, you can still go back to the room and learn from each other. How strong was his wife's mentality? Qian didn't let Shisheng kill his way over. Shisheng could only sit next to him without any love for life. There was no show to watch, no fight to fight. How could time pass so slowly? Shisheng played with Qian's fingers. Qian was a little impatient. Shall you be quiet? I'm going to the front to watch the show. You guard it yourself. Shisheng nimbly jumped down from the tree. Qian. Looking at other people's wives and then looking at his own wife, Qian felt that this life couldn't be lived. She left him without saying a word. He chased after her with a dark face and watched the show with her in front. When it was about to end, he slipped back. Xiaoyu. Qian grabbed Shisheng. What are you doing? Shisheng covered his stomach. I need to pee. Qian's ears suddenly turned red. How could she say it so naturally? He quickly looked around. Be careful. Go quickly and come back quickly. Qian saw that Zhuyu had returned to the room, but Shisheng hadn't come back. He was a little worried, so he didn't make a move. After about an incense stick's worth of time, Shisheng appeared. Why did it take so long? Diarrhea. Shisheng said without changing his expression. Qian frowned slightly and suddenly leaned close to her to smell. Did you kill someone? Shisheng raised his arm and sniffed, whispering. Do you have a dog's nose? She clearly didn't have any blood on her, so how could he smell blood? The light in Qian's eyes was a little heavy. He stared at Shisheng without saying a word. Shisheng felt uncomfortable being stared at. Hey, don't look at me like that. It's just killing someone. How could I trouble the pavilion master to do it? How could his wife do such a bloody thing? He was only responsible for being as beautiful as a flower. He, who was the one who told him to kill someone before. Idiot. Shisheng picked up Qian's hand and kissed it. I hope that when I'm here, your hands will always be clean and only touch me. Her voice was very soft as a whisper. Qian's heart suddenly shrank, as if it was suddenly pinched by an invisible hand. A fine and dense pain spread out, and the suffocation made his body bend slightly. His lips were slightly open, and his breathing was disorderly. Shisheng's expression changed. What's wrong? She just confessed. Why did he suddenly look like he was going to die? Qian put his head on Shisheng's shoulder and hugged her tightly. His voice was suppressed. I don't know. I suddenly feel so uncomfortable. It was so uncomfortable that he wanted to dig out his heart. He was afraid, but he didn't know what he was afraid of. It was a reaction from the depths of his soul. Qian hugged tighter and tighter, as if he wanted to merge Shisheng and himself into one. Shisheng was a little breathless from being strangled. Her face was red. Qian, fuck, what's wrong with you? Let go of I. Qian probably heard Shisheng's uncomfortable voice. He suddenly let go of Shisheng and looked at her nervously. Xiaoyu. Shisheng took 2 big breaths. This idiot, damn it, being with him was life-threatening. The system was afraid that the next scene would be Shisheng saying that he didn't want this kind of person, and turning around to leave. It held its breath and waited for a long time. Shisheng was only panting. His mind was full of roasting Feng Ci, but he didn't have any intention of breaking up. Xiaoyu. Qian was still nervous. Does it hurt anywhere? I'll rub it for you. Rub your uncle. Shisheng glared at him. Qian immediately lowered his head, looking like he had done something wrong. He whispered, if you don't like me killing people, I won't kill in the future. Anyway, there were so many people in Qianyu Pavilion. He could let the people below do it. Qian suddenly froze, and a bitter smile spread out from the corner of his mouth. He didn't have much time. ## today's vote for butterfly orchid flavor ## it's the weekend voting. #. Chapter 1056. On the way back, Qian was silent. When she said those words, there was a panic in the bottom of his heart. He didn't quite understand where that panic came from. It wasn't disgust, but he also couldn't explain his feelings. Zhuyu is dead. Who else wants to kill? Qian hung his head and didn't respond. Shisheng frowned and stretched his face over. I asked you a question. What are you thinking? Qian suddenly came back to his senses. He stared at Shisheng for a few seconds and shook his head. No. Okay, then let's go somewhere. Where to? To find an idiot. Idiot. Their shadows were elongated under the blood-red setting sun, but they were still tightly pressed against each other. The news of Zhuiyu's murder quickly spread throughout Jianghu. The murderer was also quickly locked onto Shisheng. Although Shisheng felt that those people were just throwing the blame around and blindly guessing. But she was the murderer. She had nothing to defend. So when people came to the door, Shisheng generously admitted it. They asked her why she killed Zhuiyu. Shisheng's answer was called infuriating, because he didn't like it. You killed him because you didn't like it? Then if you didn't like the people of Jianghu, would you have to kill them all? But not long after, rumors began to spread in Jianghu that Zhuiyu was secretly a perverted sadist. The righteous people of Jianghu certainly didn't believe it. Zhuiyu was such a righteous person. How could he suddenly become a perverted sadist? Someone must be spreading rumors. The more these people didn't believe, the more they were slapped in the face when the evidence was placed in front of them. A person with a bright and beautiful appearance, in a dark place, could be even more filthy than a person with a dirty appearance. Qian stood in front of the window of the restaurant, listening to the endless stream of voices below. His expression was a bit unpredictable and dangerous. When my parents died, I saw them fall in front of me with my own eyes. His voice suddenly sounded. It was slow and clear, without any unnecessary ups and downs. Zhuiyu killed them, took me back to the Zhou family, and locked me up with those children. Luckily, I ran away. I met my master, the previous pavilion master of Delicate Feather Pavilion. He taught me martial arts, taught me how to kill, taught me how to be emotionless and desireless. Qian summarized the process of escape in 6 words, but from his slow tone, it could be heard that the process of escape was not very smooth. He had paid an unimaginable price. Qian continued. Master said that once an assassin becomes emotional, it's like taking a slow-acting poison. It's dangerous and fatal. Qian paused and turned around to look at the woman behind him. But Master also said that I will be the pavilion master of Qianyu Pavilion in the future. I am different from them. Qian stretched out his hand. There was a white porcelain bottle in his palm. The corner of his mouth rose slightly. Lu Yu, take it. Life and death will follow. Shisheng glanced at him and took the porcelain bottle from his hand. There was a pill inside. She sniffed it and smelled blood. She returned the porcelain bottle and shook her head. There was blood inside. Qian smiled slightly and gripped the porcelain bottle tightly. He lowered his eyelids to hide the rolling hostility in his eyes. He could not hurt her. It was good that she was alive. Stretch out your hand. The woman on the other side suddenly spoke. Qian suppressed the hostility in his heart. After a while, he stretched out his hand. When he raised his head, there was nothing on his face. Shisheng took out a dagger and slit Qian's wrist. Qian's body stiffened, and he let Shisheng continue. She cut her wrist and put it close to him. Close your eyes. Qian looked at her for a few seconds, and closed his eyes. At first there was a tingling pain on his wrist. Then there was a warm and comfortable feeling. There was a warm current slowly entering his body. I, in the name of Sure, conclude a soul contract with the person on the other side. Warning dash. Activating emergency response plan. Time freeze. The space suddenly quieted down. Time was frozen at this moment. Host, you are crazy. The system's sharp voice rang directly in the air. Crazy. Shirsheng nodded. The system spoke after a while. It was obvious that it had calmed down. You can't do this in the virtual plane, it will hurt him. What do you mean? Anyway, you can't do that. Host, trust me this once. Do you have any trustworthy words coming out of your mouth? If I lie to you this time, I will never see my master again. That's vicious enough. Shirsheng raised his eyebrows and looked at the person on the other side. He maintained his posture just now. There was a bit of gentleness between his brows. He couldn't conclude a soul contract. What was his identity? Shirsheng quickly picked out the things in his mind that couldn't be concluded with a soul contract. The corner of his mouth twitched. It shouldn't be that bad, right? Host, don't overthink it. System was afraid Shirsheng would think of something weird and throw Feng Xiai away just like that. That would be too much of a joke. It didn't doubt that with the host's calmness and rationality, if she imagined something terrible, she wouldn't hesitate to pull Feng Xiai out of her world. Okay, I understand. Unfreezing time. Countdown to recovery. 3, 2, 1. The host had always been an understanding person. The system didn't say much and returned the space to normal. I, in the name of Lu Yu, conclude a life contract with Qian. Qian felt that the woman's lines seemed to have changed, but also didn't seem to have. The words she said were very profound. He couldn't understand them. It was like an ancient incantation. She read it out in a clear voice. Her speed was neither fast nor slow. It was very pleasant to hear. But he didn't have time to dwell on it. Because when she finished speaking, he felt a strange connection in his body. A connection with her. Shirsheng bandaged Qian's wrist. His voice was faint. In this contract, you live and I live. If you die, I die. Qian reached out and touched his heart. Why? Why what? Shirsheng casually stopped the bleeding on his wrist and sat back in the chair next to him. Why are you doing this to me? She was really willing to live and die with him. Shirsheng's eyes narrowed slightly. He pulled the corner of his mouth into a smile and didn't answer. Qian held his breath and waited for her answer, but there was no sound for a long time. He slowly approached her and hugged her from behind. It's good that we're together. Nothing else was important. He didn't want to pursue those matters. Perhaps he had an intuition that even if he pursued it, there wouldn't be any answers in the end. Or perhaps he didn't want to. What he wanted was only the person in front of him. No matter who she was, no matter what her purpose was, she was just herself. Asterisk, this is a fake group. Little Fairy, it's Sunday. Cherub, who's Sunday? Little Fairy, stop playing dumb. Vote on Sunday. Cherub, what is voting? How do you vote? I've only heard of shooting. Little Fairy, I might have a group of fake Cherub. Little Angel, it's the real deal. Little Fairy, no, you must be someone else's. Cherub, alright then. Little Fairy, fuck, you guys don't follow the routine. Cherub, not taking the usual path, not the usual feeling. System notification. Your dear Little Fairy has left the group chat. Please use the item to recall 09999. Chapter 1057. Shirsheng said he was going to find her, but Qian found that she was fighting all the way. Sometimes she was watching a good show, but without warning, she would rush up to fight in the next second. After several days of fumbling, Qian finally figured out the pattern. Generally, when those people gossiped about her, she generally didn't pay much attention to it. But when it came to him, even if there was a word wrong, she would go up and fight. Qian didn't know how to describe her mood. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but she accepted it well and didn't feel that there was anything wrong with being spoiled by her. The two were like conjoined twins. Where Qian was, Shirsheng would definitely be there. Where Shirsheng was, Qian would definitely be there too. With this posture, people who weren't blind knew what was going on between the two. These people had been beaten many times and knew that Qian was her taboo. If they mentioned a word, they would be beaten. If it went too far, they might not be able to keep their lives. Some people didn't fear death and continued to do it. They found that as long as they praised Qian, nothing would happen. They might even have an unexpected gain. Right now, there was probably no one in Jianghu who didn't know what the gold medal assassin of Qianyu Pavilion looked like. An assassin's exposure rate in Jianghu was so high that the people of Jianghu also expressed their inability to accept it. The original owner left her a lot of enemies. In addition, those Jianghu people were killed before. Anyway, it was common for people to stop her every 3 to 5 days to arrange a fight. Xiaoyu, where are we going? Shisheng glanced at Qian. I thought you wouldn't ask? Qian. How long has it been? You've been fighting all the way. Holy Water Palace. Qian frowned. Holy Water Palace was a very famous organization in Jianghu. It wasn't because Holy Water Palace was powerful, but because Holy Water Palace was full of women, and each of them was devastatingly beautiful. What are we going to do there? I'm looking for a retard. Didn't she tell him already? Shisheng glanced at his wife and suddenly leaned over. If you carry me, I'll tell you who to find. Qian hesitated for a while, then took off her cloak and squatted down. Come up. Shisheng contentedly leaned over and blew in her ear. Go find Xinyao. Holy Water Palace. In the exquisitely decorated hall, a figure was pacing back and forth. He seemed to be somewhat uneasy. There were a few women in uniform standing opposite him. All of them were beautiful and charming, but at this moment, they all had strange expressions on their faces. Young Master, what's wrong with you these days? The man called Young Master paused. She's coming. Who is Young Master talking about? Sure. Lu Yu, she's coming. Mubai was going crazy. He did not want to continue committing suicide. He had to think of a way. How did that woman find out about him? There was definitely a bug. Is it that Lu Yu who has been the talk of the town recently? The beauty was puzzled. Why did she come to our Holy Water Palace? The Holy Water Palace had never made enemies with anyone, nor had they offended Lu Yu. Why was Young Master so anxious? Was Lu Yu that scary? Come in *CK me. Mubai's heart was on the verge of breaking down. He waved his hand and said, "Leave me alone." The beauties looked at each other for a while before leaving the hall one by one. Mubai scratched his ears and cheeks in the main hall. Calm down, calm down. Calm my ass. He had no idea what that woman was up to. No, he had to think of a way. Think of a way. Mubai's mind spun quickly. After a while, he suddenly called for someone. Come. 2 beauties came in from outside. Young Master. Give this to Sikongfeng. Mubai handed a letter to the beauties. Yes. She must be here for the snow Ganoderma. As long as he had this, he still had a bargaining chip. No, if he could not defeat her, this thing would still be in her hands. He had to destroy it first. After Mubai finished giving orders, he rushed to the bedroom at the back of the main hall, and took out a box from under the bed. He looked at the box, his expression changing. In the end, he snorted with a gloomy face. Shisheng, I want to see how you're going to save him this time. Mubai placed his palm on top of the box and gathered his inner strength in his palm. He exerted force and the box broke in his hand. The thing inside turned into powder under his inner strength. A strange laughter came from inside the hall. The beauties outside were dumbfounded. Was Young Master possessed? Recently, a major event happened in the underworld. Sikongfeng led his men to attack the Central Plains. The newly appointed Alliance Master had not even warmed his seat yet, and he was already embroiled in such a situation. If he did not lead the underworld to victory, he would not be able to continue being the Alliance Master. Hence, the Alliance Master was furious. Sikongfeng did not come earlier or later. Instead, he came right when he had just assumed the position. What was the meaning of this? Sikongfeng was familiar with the martial arts of the various sections. Every time he tried to scheme against them, he would be able to see through them. Along the way, he did not lose many men. On the other hand, martial unions suffered heavy losses. How did Sikongfeng know about their martial arts? It might be a coincidence if it was only 1 or 2 sections. However, they had methods to counter almost all sections. In addition to Sikongfeng seeing through their scheme, martial union's men felt that they had a mole. Just as they were investigating the mole, Sikongfeng's attack speed suddenly slowed down. It was as if they were on guard, and the mole could no longer provide him with information. This mole investigated back and forth, and in the end he found Shisheng. Shisheng, who was usually the scapegoat, had an expression of what the F***ck. I BBB really didn't do anything this time. Why am I BBB, the scapegoat again? The scariest part was that I BBB wasn't even there. You guys have already thrown the scapegoat across the Pacific Ocean. After Qian finished reading the message Zheng Rong sent him, he frowned. Xikong Feng wants to get rid of you. King retard. Shisheng cursed inwardly. After she finished greeting Xikong Feng's family, she turned to look at Qian. Why did you even plant people in the demon sect? The Dark Hall's people are everywhere. Then why did you get killed by the male lead in the end? As expected of the male lead's halo. So what if you're awesome? You'll still die when you meet the male lead. I BBB don't want to die. Even cannon fodder won't die. Shisheng changed his route and ran to fight with Xikong Feng. With Shisheng, this variable, joining the fray, Xikong Feng's side was a little overwhelmed. Shisheng's combat power was equivalent to 100. With just a swing of his sword, he could flatten an entire mountain. It was easy to imagine just how powerful he was. The people from Martial Union were dumbfounded. They stood outside the battlefield and watched dumbfoundedly. She shouldn't be a traitor, right? Such a fierce person. Why would she be a traitor? Using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. They couldn't do anything to the demon sex people. She just went up and killed one of their generals. There wasn't any strategy. She just chopped it down. Maybe we made a mistake. A certain hero wiped off his cold sweat. What happened to the assassin being low-key? What kind of low-key was this? The others all agreed. They must have made a mistake. With her character of attacking at the slightest disagreement, it was impossible for her to be a traitor. That young master over there seems to have come with her. Why isn't he going up to help? The Jianghu was so big. There were bound to be people who didn't know each other. What help? That's the pavilion master of Lianyu Pavilion. Lu Yu's favorite person. Someone at the side berated. You're still looking. Lu Yu will beat you to death when she comes back. Chapter 1058. Shisheng went up, and not long after, the demon sect members began to retreat. Why are you running? Shisheng waved his sword and shouted from behind. The demon sect members ran even faster. Not running, waiting for death. There was no chance of winning. Wasn't it courting death if they went up? They didn't want to die so miserably. This woman was too scary. Run. Why did you let them go? The people from Martial Union ran to Shisheng's location, their faces full of confusion. Catching them all in one fell swoop can extinguish the demon sect's arrogant flame. Then go ahead and chase after her. Shisheng cast a sidelong glance at that person, her lips curling into a faint smile. Perhaps because Shisheng's smile was too sarcastic, that person couldn't speak and shrank into the crowd, avoiding Shisheng's gaze. Today it's all thanks to Miss Lu, otherwise I'm afraid. Someone from the Jianghu appeared to smooth things over. Don't be so hypocritical. Disgusting. Shisheng interrupted the old fox before he could finish. You guys were yelling at me to kill me before, wishing you could skin me alive. Shisheng's words hit the nail on the head. Even if she defeated the demon sect today, it couldn't wash away the fact that she had killed many people. Many people present wanted her life to avenge their sect members. The atmosphere became a little awkward. The old man couldn't say anything. Miss, it's best for everyone to pretend to be stupid at this time. Why did you have to pick it out and make everyone so awkward? Shisheng walked around them and went to Qian reached out and touched her head. She looked up and kissed the man. The man tilted his head, but in the next second he moved back and let her hang on him. Even though he was far away, he could still feel the intense doting in his eyes. The man was good-looking. He pulled the corners of his mouth and smiled gently. In the bloody ground, he was spotless and seemed to be plated with a layer of warm light. They suddenly understood why she spoiled this man so much. The Jianghu people who were despised and stuffed with dog food wanted to report it. Thus, the demon sect members who hadn't run far were caught by this group of people and abused. Xikong Feng didn't show up the whole time. No one knew whether it was because he wasn't here or because he was afraid of meeting Shisheng. When night fell, everyone gathered together to discuss. Shisheng and Qian sat far away, completely separated from the people over there. Qian went to hunt a pheasant and roasted it for Shisheng. No matter which plane he was in, his culinary skills were always full points and had good reviews. Hee, if he doesn't know how to cook, I think he's done for. He really couldn't understand. As a girl, how could she not know how to cook? Thinking about those transmigration scripts that it had read, which host was not good at cooking? She, on the other hand, knew nothing except for making porridge. I'll still be down there. Shisheng corrected the system. The people below are so powerful. What's there to be proud of? Everyone knows this skill, okay? Shisheng suddenly fell silent. The system waited for a long time, but Shisheng didn't say anything. This wasn't normal. Why wasn't the host scolding it? Will you dislike me for not being able to cook? Shisheng suddenly looked up and asked Qian. It's good that I can. Qian skillfully turned the pheasant over. You don't need to do this. He paused, then said, I only want to cook for you. Shisheng's eyebrows curved into crescent moons. He moved into Qian's arms from the side and whispered in his ear, It's good to have you. Qian kissed her forehead, adjusted her posture, and let her sit more comfortably. He took a fruit from the side and stuffed it into her mouth. Eat a fruit to fill your stomach first. Shisheng nestled in his arms, holding the fruit and nibbling. When these things are over, what do you want to do? Qian was stunned, then lowered his head and said with a smile, When I'm with you, I'll do anything. Really? Shisheng lifted her head to look at him. That mischievous smile caused Qian's ears to turn red. He pinched Shisheng's waist. What are you thinking about all day? Thinking about you. Shisheng answered shamelessly. Qian couldn't pinch anymore. He even wanted to lift Shisheng off, but in the end, Shisheng deliberately rubbed against him. Luyu. Qian breathed heavily and called out in warning. Ha ha ha. Qian sighed and scooped her into his arms, so that she wouldn't fall down with a smile. When the people over there came over, they saw Shisheng nestled in Qian's arms and nibbling on a chicken leg. She restrained her domineering aura, and was very obedient. Her hands were greasy, but Qian didn't dislike it at all. The scene was very warm. Obviously, that person couldn't bear such a scene. Was that girl who was as docile as a cat really the one they saw during the day? Have you seen enough? Shisheng jumped down from Qian's body. She withdrew her lazy aura and instantly recovered her domineering aura. The man quickly lowered his head and handed over the things in his hands. Miss Lu, Pavilion Master Qi, this is a small gift. Thank you for your help during the day. I hope you don't dislike it. What was sent was some food. Shisheng didn't refuse, but she didn't touch those things. The people over there knew that Shisheng didn't lift the plate, and were a little puzzled. They thought that with her temper, she would mercilessly throw the things back. The most important thing now is to get through the current difficulties. If we have any grievances, we can solve them later. What do you think? But, isn't there a rumor in Jianghu that Luyu is possessed? Someone carefully raised a point of view. I think she's most likely possessed. Luyu has been famous for many years, but she's never been so high profile. With such a strange person, I'm afraid I won't even know how I died. There's still no news about the traitor. I think we should keep a distance from Luyu. Anyway, looking at her, she has no intention of cooperating with us. The Devil Sect knows too much about us, but Luyu is different. The Devil Sect can't do anything to her. If we want to defeat the Devil Sect, we can only rely on her. We're a group of men. How can we rely on a woman? Everyone was talking at once. Some people said that Shisheng was a demoness. After all, she had killed so many of their people. Staying with her would not end well. Some people continued to say that Shisheng was the traitor. Others said that they should win over Shisheng and let her deal with the Devil Sect. The last person who said that definitely didn't have any grudges against Shisheng. That's enough. The new leader scolded, and the noisy scene immediately quieted down. He glanced at the crowd. Luyu will not work with us, and we don't know why she's here. Everyone, keep your distance from her, and try not to have any conflicts. Did he mean that they shouldn't care about her? No matter what she did, it had nothing to do with them. Of course, if she could kill the Devil's Sect, they would be happy to accept it. Then, what if she provokes us? A certain hero raised his hand. They didn't provoke her, but they couldn't stop her from provoking them. She's been here for so long. Have you ever seen her provoking us? The new leader glared at him. Everyone was silent. It seemed that she hadn't. When they didn't provoke her, she would just watch as if it had nothing to do with her. Occasionally, she would say something. But if you didn't say anything, she wouldn't continue. She was a very strange person. Chapter 1059. The demon sect didn't give up, but they were always killed by Shisheng. The members of the demon sect hated Shisheng to the core. How could she be so powerful by herself? Was she even human? She wasn't human at all. Shisheng always wanted to kill Sikongfeng, but Sikongfeng was always protected by the male lead's halo. She had even used her energy ball, but he still couldn't be killed. She was desperate. Why was the male lead so difficult to deal with this time? Because the male lead isn't with the female lead. The system told Shisheng thoughtfully. What do you mean? The male lead and the female lead's halo effect would be weakened if they were together? Something like that. Damn it. Shouldn't the male lead and the female lead's halo effect be stacked? That's only if the lead characters are in love. All the previous hosts were made suspicious by you and died before they could fall in love. It would be a miracle if the halo effect could be stacked. Then I have to get the female lead over? No way, what kind of missions are these days? Please don't harm the female lead. Let her live a peaceful life. The female lead really didn't provoke you this time. She didn't even go online. The system was impressed by the host's method of breaking up the couple. The female lead and the male lead only met once. And then she knew that he was a demon from the demon sect. In the original plot, the female lead didn't know the male lead's true identity until the end. At that time, she was deeply in love with the male lead and could accept him. Now the female lead was a good girl. How could she accept Sikongfeng? But that wasn't the main point. The main point was that Sikongfeng was so busy with Shisheng that he didn't have time to meet the female lead. If he wasn't being chased, he was on the way to being chased. But I can't kill Sikongfeng. If I can't kill him, I can't fulfill the original host's last wish. Do it a few more times. The system said. But Face, I noticed that you've changed. Shisheng spoke out of the blue. What the hell is Buttface? Who is Buttface? Host, don't force this system. If this system gets angry, then it's no big deal. In Shisheng's eyes, the system was a piece of trash. Other people's systems violated all kinds of rules to help them. But look at her system. She wanted to melt it down and rebuild it. No, she should just throw it away. Other people's hosts aren't like you. You're so smart that it scares the system, and you even have your own BUG. What right do you have to criticize the system? After arguing with the system daily, Shisheng went to mess with the male protagonist. She didn't believe that she couldn't kill this idiot. Reality proved that he really couldn't be killed. Sikongfeng's martial arts had made a qualitative leap. Although he could not defeat Shisheng directly, he could successfully escape from Shisheng. This halo is too scary. None of the previous planes were as awesome as Sikongfeng's halo. Was this a bug? It must be. System, hurry up and fix the bug. Don't be so unprofessional. It's really not a bug. This was the setting of Sikongfeng before he was influenced by the female lead. Therefore, he was now preparing to dominate the martial arts world. This was in line with the setting. No cat biscuits, no BUG. Let me tell the host a truth about this. Shisheng tiredly chopped the innocent grass on the ground with his sword. What truth? Don't speed up the plot so quickly. Your previous words were all to pave the way for this sentence, right? This BUG was definitely done by you. Don't think that I'm easy to fool. The system was silent for a while. The host should hurry up and kill the male protagonist. After saying that, the system wanted to strangle itself. Why did I encourage the host to kill the male protagonist? Master, come back quickly. I've been played by the host. I can't even control myself. Go offline and calm down. When the system went offline, Shisheng felt even more stifled. She inserted the iron sword to the side and sat down directly, watching the group of people fighting below. Not happy, Qian came up from behind and sat next to her. And Shisheng nodded helplessly. Qian rubbed Shisheng's head. Because of Xikong Feng? Apart from that idiot, who else could it be? Shisheng gritted his teeth. Qian looked down and said in a low voice, "He's very lucky." She clearly had several chances to kill him, but accidents happened in the end. It was no wonder she was so angry. Good luck is amazing. Shisheng rubbed against Qian and began to act like a hooligan. Quickly kiss and comfort me. This baby needs his wife's healing power. Qian looked at the face that came up and smiled silently. She lowered her head and kissed him. Their lips and teeth touched and their breath mingled. Qian kissed her for a while and released her. Are you happy? He liked it when she was happy because of his touch. Shisheng smacked his lips. Let's go back and sleep. The corner of Qian's mouth twitched. If she was an emperor, she would definitely be a fatuous one. The people below were fighting energetically, but she was actually thinking about sleeping. Qian must have refused to sleep in the daytime. Shisheng returned to his lifeless face. He poked the ground with his sword and occasionally glanced below. It was unknown what he was calculating. The group fight below continued until late at night. Martial Union's people came back with broken hands and legs. They were beaten miserably. Miss Liu, why didn't you come just now? Someone walked over to Shisheng's side and complained. You caused us to hurt so many people. Whether Xiaoyu goes or not, it has nothing to do with you. Qian stood up first. His voice was clear and gentle, and there seemed to be a smile in his eyes. What right do you have to ask Xiaoyu to do things? The man on the other side was still so good-looking, but at this moment, it gave everyone a kind of creepy feeling. The Qian they saw most of the time was a handsome man with a doting smile, but they forgot that that was when he faced Shisheng. When facing them, Qian was mostly cold and indifferent. He wasn't even willing to give them a look. And now, he was the rumored pavilion master of Delicate Feather Pavilion. Pavilion Master Qi, the people below don't follow the rules. Please don't mind them. I will definitely discipline them well, and won't let this happen again. Someone braced himself and came up to smooth things over. He secretly glared at the brainless person. Are these two people you can provoke? That person was also very regretful. Just now, it was as if he was possessed. At this moment, he could only tremble with a pale face. Qian's gaze swept over the two people. He turned around and his cloak drew a beautiful arc in the air. He brought it forward and brushed past the flowers and plants on the ground. He hugged Shisheng's waist and disappeared on the hillside in a few leaps. Scared me to death. That person's legs went soft, and he fell to the ground. This man usually didn't look that scary, but just now he actually had the illusion that he had walked around the gates of hell. The next time you speak nonsense, no one can protect you. The man who smoothed things over coldly snorted and strode away. Chapter 1060. Demon Sect. Sect Master, your injuries are very severe. You cannot continue like this. The demon sect's disciples worriedly looked at Xikong Feng. Proceed according to plan. The frailty on Xikong Feng's face faded, leaving behind only a gloomy chill. The demon sect's disciples looked at each other. Fearing Xikong Feng's tyrannical might, none of them dared to speak. When night fell, the demon sect's disciples prepared to set out. Ignoring the dissuasion of others, Xikong Feng followed them. The demon sect and Martial Union were not too far apart. The demon sect's members reached the top of Martial Union's group. From above, they could see the bonfire below, as well as some of the night guards. Sect Master, the wind isn't strong enough. We have to wait a little longer. Xikong Feng looked down before retracting his gaze. The person who spoke waved his hand, indicating for the others to make their preparations. After waiting for a while, the wind finally picked up, causing everyone's clothes to flutter. Xikong Feng raised his hand. Begin. By the time the members of Martial Union discovered that something was amiss, it was already too late. The demon sex members had surrounded them. Meanwhile, they had all been poisoned, and their bodies were powerless. They could only allow the demon sex members to tie them up. Sect Master, we did not discover Lu Yu and Qi, and Sikong Feng narrowed his eyes. Kill them. Yes. Despicable. Pay. Demon, what kind of ability is this? Your demon sect is just so despicable. Even if you kill us, do you think you can unify the martial world? Although the members of Martial Union could not move, they could still speak. However, aside from cursing, they could not do anything else. You're about to die, yet you're still so stubborn. You might as well say your last words. The demon sect's disciples walked over with swords in hand. The members of Martial Union had ugly expressions on their faces. Today, they had been ambushed because of their carelessness. However, even if they died, there would still be tens of thousands of people in the martial world who would stand up against the demon sect. Wait a moment. I know where Lu Yu is. Don't kill me. A young man shouted, his voice filled with extreme fear. Sikong Feng looked towards the man. Where is she? I'll only tell you, come closer. The man stuttered. Sikong Feng frowned and took a few steps towards that person. Speak. That person's gaze circled the ground, and he stretched out his hand with difficulty, pointing at Sikong Feng. You behind you. Sikong Feng's heart skipped a beat. He turned around abruptly. Shisheng was standing a few meters away. Her face was hidden in the darkness. He could only see the yellow talisman in her hand. Just as he turned around, the talisman spontaneously combusted. With him as the center, a strong light suddenly emitted within half a meter. Sikong Feng felt a sense of danger, and instinctively jumped away. But light's speed was faster than him, and he directly crashed into the light wall. A sizzling sound rang in his ears, and a burnt smell floated up to his nose. Sikong Feng was trapped in that 1 meter wide circle of light, and the talisman paper under his feet gradually appeared. Almost all of the demonic sect disciples were surrounded by these halos. Those who were not were quickly knocked unconscious by a sword. Shisheng slowly walked out of the darkness, and his face gradually became clearer. The woman had a smile on her face. It was a very faint smile. The light flashed on and off against her face. For some reason, it made people's scalp tingle, as if they were being stared at by a monster. Sikong Feng. Shisheng stood in front of Sikong Feng. I don't believe that you can run away this time. Sikong Feng had already given up when he realized that he couldn't break out of the circle of light that trapped him. At this moment, he maintained his male lead image. Sikong Feng's face was full of calmness. If I can escape from you once, I can do it again. Is that so? Then let's see if Plot Koan or I is more powerful. Shisheng took out a talisman paper and stuck it on the circle of light. After circling it once, she stood back in place and quickly formed a seal with her fingers. Suddenly, a strong wind blew around them, and a very strange force swept towards them. That force quickly merged with the circle of light. The talisman paper floated up from the circle of light, and it spun around the circle of light. Bright yellow characters came out of the talisman paper and tightly wrapped around the circle of light. Sikong Feng had never seen such a scene before. His heart started to beat uncertainly, and his mind kept flashing with thoughts of how to save himself. Rumble. Thunderclouds gathered in the sky at some point, and the sound of thunder suddenly resounded through heaven and earth. Shisheng glanced up from the corner of her eyes, and the corners of her mouth curved up slightly. What a pity, she's already done. In the end, Shisheng took out a blank talisman paper and quickly drew a string of characters on it. She stuck it on the circle of light, took out the iron sword, and fled into the distance. Rumble. A bolt of lightning as thick as an arm struck down from the sky, landing right where Shisheng was just standing. Shisheng sat on the iron sword and patted her chest. She almost scared me to death. Mubai sat on the cliff, looking at the flashing lightning and the flickering circle of light in the distance. After a long while, Mubai gritted his teeth and muttered, "So this is an unsolvable problem. Why did I have to suffer like this?" The male lead had the protagonist's halo, and even with his help, he still couldn't beat her. So angry, Mubai's chest rose and fell rapidly. He brainwashed himself in his heart. He was a gentleman, so he couldn't get angry. He had to maintain his gentlemanly demeanor and calm down. Calm down. He couldn't calm down at all. When he thought about how his goal of killing Shisheng was still far away, Mubai suddenly wanted to commit suicide to calm down. Mubai. Why did he have such a terrible idea? This gentleman wouldn't die. He would definitely live. Live until the end. Kill Shisheng. Shisheng didn't dodge the lightning, and was struck a bit awkwardly. Perhaps because she had been struck too many times, she was now more resistant to being struck. After being struck, other than feeling that her body wasn't her own, her consciousness was still very clear. Shisheng fed herself some pills, and adjusted her breathing before returning to the nearby town on her sword. She climbed through the window and fell into an embrace as soon as she entered. Where did you go? Shisheng. Why did he wake up? Damn, the medicine must have expired. Next time I'll change it. Shisheng laughed dryly. Went out to get some fresh air. Qian pinched Shisheng's chin and made her look at him. Xiaoyu, you're lying. Oh. If you know I's lying, then why the hell did you ask? Okay, I'll go and cripple Sikong Feng. Qian was silent for a moment, then suddenly began to take off her clothes. What are you doing? Hey, don't pull. It's not that easy to take off. Damn, I just bought it. Don't tear it. No, it's not good for us to be by the window, right? Why aren't you talking? Qian took off her clothes, lit the lamp, and carefully examined her. His brows were tightly knitted, as if there was something he couldn't figure out. His fingers slid across Shisheng's back. Shisheng was a bit impatient. Have you touched enough? Qian glanced at her, and carried her to the bed. That night, Shisheng knew that there was no crazier, only crazier. Pull the lamp to sweep away pornography. #today. I'm looking for a ticket for the taste of platycodon flowers. #, looking for monthly votes. #. Chapter 1061. Sikong Feng's cultivation was crippled, and he was captured by the people of Martial Union. Without Sikong Feng's leadership, the demon sect was quickly defeated by Martial Union, and withdrew from the Central Plains. Shisheng, the hero, had not shown his face since that night. Everyone had a tacit understanding not to mention him. Shisheng naturally did not care. What she was worried about was Qian. Since that night, Qian rarely spoke. Even if Shisheng asked him, he would only nod or shake his head. Sometimes he would not speak at all. Shisheng looked at Qian, who was sitting in the corner. She touched her chin and moved her butt over. She asked straightforwardly, "Did you see something that day?" Qian lowered his head. His voice was a bit muffled. "Are you afraid?" Qian suddenly raised his head and anxiously denied. No. He was not afraid. He turned around and faced Shisheng. He pursed his lips several times. "I don't know what to say." Shisheng tilted his head and did not answer. Qian leaned over and kissed her face. Then he pulled her into his arms. "I saw those lightning strikes and landed on your body." He wanted to go over, but he could not. He could not even take a step forward. Those lightning strikes seemed to have struck him at the same time. He could not move at all. He had to desperately hold back his voice, so that she would not notice. Every time he thought of the scene at that time, he felt so much heartache that he could not breathe. Shisheng wanted to slap herself. How could she forget that he had a contract with her? He would also feel the pain on her body. It hurts, right? It doesn't hurt. Qian shook his head. With her by his side, he could endure any pain. There won't be a next time. This kind of thing would never happen a second time. Shisheng asked again. Don't you have anything you want to ask? Why was she struck by lightning? Why was she fine so quickly? Qian lowered his eyes. Is it important? Shisheng was stunned. He slowly said, It's not important. Qian's body began to deteriorate. Shisheng could feel the fine and dense pain, like countless needles piercing his bones. Every time, Qian didn't say anything and acted normal. Shisheng also accompanied him in pretending. Later, maybe he remembered the previous incident and stopped pretending. Xiaoyu, does it hurt? Qian grabbed Shisheng's hand, his eyes full of heartache. He regretted it. He shouldn't have let her suffer the same pain as him. It doesn't hurt. Shisheng pressed him back. We're almost there. You'll get better soon. Little you, it's useless. Qian shook his head. The whereabouts of the red coral are unknown. My body can't recover. Qian regretted being impulsive back then. He wanted to cut off her thoughts, but he didn't expect that in the end, he would cut off his own path of retreat. I got it. Sheng took out the jade coral from his space. It was as red as blood. Look. Qian was stunned for a while before he took it. When did you get it? Do you want to praise me? Sheng took back the jade coral. I also know that I'm very powerful. When you're better, just sleep with me a few more times. Qian didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Why would she tell you? There are many ways to know what I want to know. Qian laughed silently. That's true. She had never asked him what was going on with his body, but she obviously knew it like the back of her hand. Qian leaned his head towards Sheng. Xiao Yu, I'm sleepy. Sleep if you're sleepy. But I don't want to sleep. Qian rubbed against Sheng, his face slightly red. Xiao Yu, I want. What do you want? Sleep. Don't you want to die? Sheng slapped him and stuffed him under the quilt. Qian was a little wronged. But I'm in pain. I don't hurt. Qian teased Sheng all the way, looking like he wouldn't stop until he got her into bed, but Sheng didn't budge. When they arrived at the Holy Water Palace, Qian didn't succeed. He was in good spirits and got off the carriage. When he looked up, he saw a row of beauties. He gathered his cloak, but it wasn't as beautiful as his Xiao Yu. Sheng sent the coachman away and walked to Qian's side. One of the beauties stood up and bowed. Her voice was sweet. Miss Liu, Pavilion Master Qi, the young master has been waiting for a long time. Please. Sheng raised his eyebrows. She wanted to hit him. Mubai was actually so self-aware. She didn't believe that Mubai was afraid of her. There was definitely something wrong. Sheng arrogantly ordered the beauties, let him come down. The beauties weren't angry. Miss Liu, the young master said that if you're worried about a trap, then please go back. Sheng thought for a moment and still didn't go up. If Mubai didn't come down, she began to destroy the buildings outside the Holy Water Palace. The entire Holy Water Palace was very quiet. Other than the beauties standing outside, there was no one inside. Mubai was finally forced out. He quickly glanced at Qian, and then turned his gaze to Sheng. You're so violent every time we meet. Can't you be more ladylike? Whether I'm ladylike or not has nothing to do with you. Sheng sheathed his sword. Where's the thing? You want it. Mubai's confidence immediately exploded. He had a decent smile on his face. Do you think I'll give it to you? Why are you so afraid that I'll catch you? Sheng suddenly changed the topic. Something flashed in Mubai's eyes. Before Sheng could see it clearly, he had already returned to normal. I don't want to experience your methods. You're asking me for a favor now, not the other way around. Do you think you have a big bargaining chip in your hand? Mubai shook his head. I don't think so, so I destroyed it. He didn't believe that a stalk of snow Ganoderma could make her lower her head. If he really forced her, she would probably die with that man. Sheng. F***ck. This idiot. You guys can leave. Mubai suddenly turned his head and said to the beauties behind him. Young master? The beauties were anxious. What was wrong with young master? He suddenly dismissed everyone from the Holy Water Temple. And now even they Mubai waved his hand. If you don't leave now, you'll have to die with him. Do you think I'll let them go? Sheng raised his eyebrows. If these people knew that Mubai was dead, they would kill her. It's your business whether you let them go or not. The smile on Mubai's face suddenly became cold. I let them go, but whether they can leave or not depends on their abilities. Sheng sneered. I thought you suddenly learned how to be gentle with women. Mubai chuckled. Of course I will be gentle with women, but not here. You know better than me, don't you? Mubai's goal was very clear. He wanted to kill her. As long as it was something that could be used, he would use it. The system kept saying that this wasn't a game, but Mubai and she knew very well that this was just a game. A game for smart people. Mubai was about to kneel down again. Her heart ached for him. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.